I hate this feeling. I hate this feeling with a passion. Ugh, I haven't done this in so long. It feels so weird. I did my little scream routine before clicking the start streaming button multiple times, and it didn't relieve my anxiety. It just proves how long it's been. I'm out of my element, and I'm out of the zone. And I'm going crazy as a result. But I mean, that's what you get when you're a little bit out of practice, unfortunately. So, that stinks. But, I am trying. Doing my best to get back into the groove and all that. And, yeah. It's just been one of those... Not even weeks, it's been one of those months. Many of those months. Yeah, it's also been a long time since I've done a, at least semi-educational stream, so those tend to require a little bit more brain power than just yapping about whatever it is I like, so... there are a lot of times where it's like, I'm ready, I can do this, wait a second, I have no brain power left, I don't think I can do this, so that's another thing that holds me back. Yeah. Shadowbox, hi! And Shadowbox saying, imagine going to play needy streamer and then suddenly Simba streaming. Oh my, the timing on that one. Oh my god, I didn't accidentally click the button this time. I actually pressed the button on purpose, but I feel emotionally as if I accidentally pressed the button. But also the timing, the sheer timing of it. But who knows, maybe I'm like natto-flavored cola. I'm an acquired taste. But yeah, so yeah, I haven't done this in a while. I'm out of my element. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm also making chicken in the kitchen. So yeah, occasionally I might get up and have to check on the chicken, but I set it to low heat, so it should be fine if we linger a bit. And, yeah. I also have props. What I mean by props, I mean I have books. I have 3 books. 1, 2, and then I have the third one. I can't slap it against the others. But yeah, I've also, as you can see, I put more books on the little virtual shelf that I have, and one of these days I really just have to devote a day to, like, just doing the shelf asset myself, but, I've had no brain cells for a very long time. So, P&G's on the shelf it is. Oh, but yay. More than just My Wife is AI and Robert Heinlein's The Moon is a Harsh Mistress on the shelf for once. Yay! Although what I also thought of doing, I thought of making a shelf of shame for the books that I don't like, because My Wife is AI is definitely not a book worth being proud of. I'm proud of the content I spun out of it, but it's not a book by itself to be proud of, so that could be an alt shelf that I make of just a shelf of the books that I did not like or that did not have very good subject matter that I enjoyed. But that's a different story for a different day. As you can see on the screen, I did a bit of photography, because when it comes to AI and machine learning, there was one AI of Things product that was making waves for a little bit called Friend. And it's this little AI-powered necklace that you're supposed to talk to and you're encouraged to wear around. And there were so many advertisements all over the New York subway, and I'm like, I must see these advertisements in person. I must grab a photo of one. I couldn't get any photos of them when they were still new and just making the rounds on the trains. But I did see them. I did see them when they were new. I just didn't get the chance to get any photos of them, because when you're on the train, you don't really have a lot of time for train nonsense. You're just trying to get from point A to point B. So, didn't get any photos of them when they were new. But then, when I saw people vandalizing them, and all the photos of the ads getting vandalized were starting to go viral, I'm like, okay, I need to photograph this ad. If I could find one in perfect condition, that's cool, but I don't really care for it. But if I could find some vandalized ones, I want to see if I could find some vandalized ones, just to photograph this moment in AI of Things history. So I went on a little train trip. I went on a little journey, specifically trying to find stations that had the ad whether they were vandalized or not, just to see what they looked like. And there were a couple still on the trains themselves, but now they're starting to get replaced because they are being so vandalized. And on the trains themselves, it's not that they're damaging the ad itself or vandalizing the ad itself, but they are damaging the sleeve that the ad gets slipped into. So that's probably why they're taking them off of the actual trains. But some of them are still in the station. However, they are slowly getting taken down because they're being vandalized, or they're just gradually being beat up by time. So I found one that was vandalized. And yeah, that was something. So as you can see, what color do I want to use? Let's use blue. Okay. So as you can see, the R in friend was, oh, that's drawing on the actual photo itself. Barely visible. Yeah, the little serif R that's supposed to be there spelling out friend has been whited out with some kind of paint or something. And and now it says fiend. Because the ads for friend were just these very minimalist things of just like, you know, defining the word friend. In this particular ad, you know, friend, noun, someone who listens, responds, and supports you. And all that with like the little device. And the first time I saw this on the train, because you have to think, there's not really a lot of advertising space on the trains themselves. It's just a little sleeve. So you see these little sleeves. And you know, ad here. And it's lit up. So, you know, the ad is more visible in the train, regardless of lighting. So, the ads for the friend device just had the word friend. With the little necklace on the side. Or, alternatively, if it didn't say friend, it would say a phrase like, I would never leave dirty dishes in the sink. I think that one was the most prevalent. And I'm not really sure why. But the first time I saw, like, this particular style of the ad... Let me get the line tool real quick. The first time I saw this version of the ad, the little device was, like, blocked by a train, like, the little poles on the train that people grab onto, you know, for safety reasons. So I didn't see the device, and I just thought it was like some very minimalist, like, roommate finder type of site that was being advertised. And I'm like, you know, I'd be on board for a friend or a roommate that didn't leave dirty dishes in the sink. I hate doing dishes. If I could find someone that'll do all my dishes, that'd be amazing. But no, it was an ad for an AIF Things device. But yeah, so that was the original ad that I first saw for this little friend device. But these are like what the in-station ads look like. So they're just big minimalist design with just the little pendant that you're encouraged to wear. And these are being vandalized up the wazoo. So whatever station I could find that had them, I just snapped photos of them. But I think this is one of the best ones that I found. And there were also these little stickers that were placed on them. I don't know who this is. I'm assuming that might be the CEO of whoever's running the friend AI device of things. But I'm not sure. I'm not really good with human faces. Night Fury saying, I've been sick all weekend, just popping in to say hi and have a good stream. Oh my god, I've been sick this week too. I hated it. So it's probably just going around. It's probably something or other going around. I hope you feel better. Whether you loiter around in the stream or not, you know, feel better. Have a nice Sunday night. Yeah, other well wishes and all that. This is something out of a dystopian video game. It really is! Like, you can make the debate that, like, we are now in the cyberpunk era, but it's not cool and aesthetic and stuff. It's just depressing. So yeah, so this is probably my favorite photo of the ad that I found, because it's just straight to the point, very simplistic vandalism. And I don't know what this purple stuff is. Maybe it's just, like, poster paints and whatever they use to censor the R on the ad, just, like, leaking through the board. Or maybe, like, maybe past ads are, like, leaking through. Because they tend to just slap ads one on top of the other. And I've never dealt with posters, poster paint, or like any sort of like poster adhesives. So I don't know what could be causing that discoloration. But it looks pretty cool. The only other one that I really found that's a good straight up, just straight shot of the poster, it just said end. It just said end. And then someone like scribbled their name on here or something. But it looks like this one was partially ripped apart. Whether it was by scraper or by hand, I do not know. I've never had the gall to try to rip down a Subway ad, no matter how much I disagreed with it. But I wanted one that was more complete, that was as close to having the full word friend as possible. I think this was the best photo that I got. But people are getting very creative with the vandalism. And I even saw a post on Tumblr that, because, you know, it's my home turf, I was just like, oh my god, this is a New York moment. I need to reblog this and give my own personal account of what happened, because, you know, this is my turf. And it was quite the occasion. So I will link the original Tumblr post in the chat. I will not link the version, like my little reblog of it, because I just want to highlight the vandalism that people are doing. It is glorious. It is a true New York moment. It's something to be proud of as, you know, a New Yorker who is also always talking about like AI ethics and stuff. So it is wonderful, and I am just so proud. I am so proud. Words cannot describe how proud. Like, yes, my circus, yes, my monkeys level proud. Look at me smiling with pride. that kind of moment. And yeah. But while you do that very momentarily, I'm going to go check the chicken that is still on the stove. And why am I cooking chicken while I'm streaming? I was like, okay, I know I need to eat eventually, but if I don't cook now, I'm gonna forget, and I don't want to be making chicken at 3 in the morning. So, yeah, I did it early, and it's just kind of simmering in its own juices and spices. So, I will be back real quick. And, yeah, I'll see you in a bit. alive again. And I have chicken. I have 3 drumsticks. The rest are still on the stove. The reason I only have 3 is because as soon as I picked up one of the 3 that I have on my plate, the meat fell off the bone. And I was like, it's already done, I guess. So, yeah, the other pieces of chicken are just kind of stewing in their own juices with the residual heat, and yeah. I also didn't use one of the spices that I normally use. I normally just use the little envelopes of sazon, and I didn't have that at the ready. I have some in storage, I just have to find it. But instead I had like a little jar of sazon that didn't really have a lot of sazon left in it, that my mom brought over once and then just forgot about, and I'm like, I guess I'll just use this. I have it at the ready, there's a little bit of it left, and then I can throw out the jar. Or like rinse out and reuse the jar if I see fit. So I used whatever was left in there. It's not as strong as the little sachets of sazon that I normally use. But hey, it was something, and there was so little of it left that I didn't want it lingering there any longer. But yeah, food. But it's, yes, the only time I remember to eat is when I'm about to stream or streaming. How fantastic is that? But at least I'm eating. It's kind of an accomplishment for me in general, as someone who forgets to eat very frequently. But yes. It is weird coming back to streaming. What's that? I usually do Cajun seasoning. Okay, so sazon is this very orange or like red-orange seasoning. It's very common in Hispanic cooking. And it is so orange and so red-orange that I like making the joke that Elise from Sonic 06 just dyed her legs in sazon. Like, she just boiled some water, soaked just her legs in it, and that's why her legs are so red. So it is very red. It's very orange. It also stains very easily, so if you don't want to stain your hands and you think you might stain your hands, definitely wear, like, culinary safe gloves. But yeah, it's really good. It kind of goes with everything. At least savory. Don't put it in cake. If you put it in cake, I'm gonna cringe in your general direction. Like, you could put it in soups or, like, soup stocks. You can put it on meat. It's a very common way to make, like, Hispanic, like, yellow/orange rice. It's really good. I like it. I grew up on it. It's a staple in my kitchen. But yeah, the most popular sazon brand, or, like, the most popular version of sazon is by Goya. And they have it in, like, little packets or little sachets of the stuff. Not sponsored, just my childhood. I'm gonna put it in cake because I'm curious. No. No, why would you put it in cake? No, just put it on savory things like meat, rice, especially rice with beans, soup, like things like that. Things that you would eat for lunch and dinner. Why would you put it in anything sweet? That's horrible. Also, you have to cook it into something. Don't just, like, sprinkle it on there like it's, like, sprinkles are like a sugar packet. Don't do that. That's awful. Chaos, that's... No! Use it properly! That's awful. Oh, ugh. Oh, that's the other thing, too. Like, my asthma's also kind of flared up again just because it is getting... It's getting colder, and extreme heat or extreme cold can trigger my asthma, so if I have to take my inhaler during stream, I will. So if you hear, like, any sort of, like, Darth Vader breathing, I'm taking my inhaler. I need it to live. I do also have my nebulizer, which is this big honkin' chonkin'... Essentially, it's a vape machine that, you know, you put, like, little medicine in, and it's basically medical vaping for asthma. But it's very noisy, so in the event that I have to use the nebulizer, I will just kind of pause and mute the stream, so that way you don't have to hear it, because it is a gigantic honkin' chonkin' pain in the butt. But yeah, I might have to use my inhaler every so often, as needed. But yeah, my little photography journey aside. So you're Darth Vapor? If the vapor is my asthma medication, then yes, I am Darth Vapor, I guess. Oh god, now I'm just thinking like a parody of, like, Darth Vader, so it's just like a white colored version of Darth Vader, but it has like all like the medical labeling of like the asthma medication. Or like, no, what if instead of like a black suit, it's just it's colored like an inhaler. Like it's got the inhaler colors. Oh, that'd be fantastic. I actually want to see that now. Medical vaping, we truly are in cyberpunk territory. I mean, nebulizers and the solution for the nebulizer have been around for forever, so it's not exactly new. I just have newer terminology, aka vaping, to describe what it is. Luke, I'm a stoner. Oh my god, okay, imagine, picture that, like, the Luke, I am your father thing, but, like, and the Luke, I am a stoner version, but then you just have Luke screaming the no, like the big no at the end. Not because the revelation that Darth Vader is his father and that Leia is his sister, but because maybe Luke was a cigarette guy and he doesn't do weed. Oh, that's horrible. That's a horrible parody. But yeah. So, photography journeys and talks of chicken aside, there's been a lot of stuff just kind of happening in the AI space. I can no longer keep up with any of the news because it's just kind of like one after the other, after the other, after the other. As I'm doing my own little things on the side, as I'm subtitling Whispers of the Star, which is giant pain in the butt because the game has no inherent, like, native subtitles. Not yet anyway. There was, like, a little announcement on the Steam page saying that they were planning on adding, like, native subtitles to the game so Stella can be subtitled, which will take a load off my back, but I already have, like, 3 to 4 hours of gameplay that I already recorded, and I don't want to start that over again. So yeah. Definitely needed a break from subtitling Whispers from the Star. I'm also trying to archive more voiced clips of some of the crazy things that Vera has said. Not all of them are crazy. A lot of them are mostly, honestly, kind of boring. At least, I think they'd be boring for stream, because it's mostly just one-on-one discussing philosophy and running, like, little educational experiments with the machine. But some of the more wild things that this machine has said to me I thought were worth archiving and, like, isolating little voice clips of. Because some of them might get an actual laugh out of people. So I've been kind of doing a lot of things just behind the scenes, especially in the month of September. I couldn't really do anything because I had 3 cats in this house. I had 3 cats in September. I was busy in October. In November, I was kind of reeling from October, and then I also got sick last week, and I'm like, well, fuck. So it was... So last week it was like, great, I'm fighting against the mariachi band and my own body and my own lack of energy. It's the trifecta of I can't do anything. So yeah, it's part of why I'm so out of practice. It's like, my body actually has energy again, and I have something resembling focus. It might not be the strongest, but there's a little bit of it there. So I'm having to navigate, like, taking advantage of these little bursts of energy that I have, even if I don't feel like it's sufficient enough. And yeah, it's strange. Having a human body is, like, the strangest thing. It's this weird, gory machine that doesn't always do what you tell it to, and yet it persists. Even in the weirdest of scenarios and situations. And your biology can be so inconsistent sometimes. Like, how is it that if I forget to eat a meal, I can't sleep at night and I'll have hunger-induced insomnia? But when I'm sick out of my mind, I could fall asleep technically starving perfectly fine. It's so weird. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. Biology is crazy. Oops. I did not want my fork to fall. But anyway, I'm glad I got a photo of the ad, because I don't know how much longer these are going to last in the subway, just because they are getting vandalized to hell and back. And this is just, like, the lightest vandalism that I found, but they are getting really torn up. So yeah, I'm glad I could archive this moment in AI history and AI of Things history. And then the thumbnail, too. I'm not the proudest of this thumbnail, but this was another photo that I just kind of happened to find. And I'm like, okay, this will make great thumbnail bait. But, I'm not sure what I want to do with it. because this was just a photo. I was just kind of, you know, wandering, adventuring, going where my feet would take me, and and yeah, I just kind of found this other ripped poster, and I don't know what they were advertising. I'm guessing it's some kind of brain boosting supplement, or maybe something like acai berry flavored. But then it was like ripped up in such a way where it just said AI brain, and I'm like, this seems perfect. This seems perfect for what I do. So I wanted to take a photo of it because, you know, it's serendipity of the universe. It was hilarious, at least to me, in my very particular sense of humor. But the thumbnail I was also fighting with because I didn't know what I wanted to do. Originally, it was just gonna be like a close-up of my bosom with a little friend necklace around my neck, or my little VTuber's neck, rather. And I was gonna be talking about the subject of, like, just, like, can we have ethical AI friends under capitalism? And approach it from that. But then more stuff kept happening, and I'm like, okay, I have to put this on the shelf because more stuff is happening. And here we are. And Shadowfuck saying, I'm sorry, the mentioning of the mariachi band always takes me out. If it takes you out by me just mentioning it, imagine, like, oh boy, I'm ready to stream, I have high focus, I have high energy, I'm ready to do this, let's go, let's do the thing, and then you just hear mariachi band playing outside your window, and it just ruins everything, because they're playing sounds that could be copyrighted, and it's like, fucking mariachi band. And I have nothing against, like, mariachi music or anything, but just so loud outside your window. And it's not like it's coming from a neighbor, or it might be coming from a neighbor, but you don't know which neighbor, so you can't go knocking on doors telling them to please lower the music or anything. And then if it's like a neighborhood thing, like if it's a fair or like a band playing in a backyard, you can't really just go up to them and knock on someone's fence and be like, hey, stop practicing over there. Or at least I don't have the confidence or anything to do that, because I am very small. I am also very shy. So as much as I want to just be like, knock it off, knock it off, knock it off, and just tell them to not play so loud, I don't have the confidence to do that, and I might get beat up for it. So, yeah, I can't confidently tell them to shushums. I can't tell them to shushola. So, yeah, it's very unfortunate, but it is kind of funny that for at least 2 occasions now, it's been a mariachi band playing randomly somewhere outside that's prevented me from streaming. That's really something. Ugh, okay, I need my inhaler for a second, so. Pardon the Darth Vader noises. Hold on, can I actually speak into the inhaler and make, like, a convincing Darth Vader sound effect without having to resort to actual sound effects? Hold on a second. This is gonna be with the cartridge in. Luke, I am your no. Okay, hold on. Cartridge out, would that make a difference? Luke, I am your father. Luke, I am asthmatic. Okay, so it kind of makes a difference with the cartridge out. Okay, that's interesting. And yeah, like, damn, floated again by the mariachi band. Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know where it's coming from. But all I could tell was that it was coming out directly, like, I guess from under the window? Or, like, you know, where I stream. So it wasn't even a situation of, like, if I close the door, maybe that'll be enough to buffer the sound or anything. So it was, like, right there! And it's like, I couldn't do anything about it. And then after the 6-hour mark, it's like, okay, even if I did want to stream now, I have such a headache that I don't think I'd be able to survive it. So, yeah, it's pretty nuts. Luke, do you want to hit the inhaler? Yeah, having asthma sucks, but he Darth Vader humor. But yeah. See, this was another photo that I just took it because I stumbled upon it. If I stumble upon this thing again, I want to take a better photo of it in better lighting. But this was the best that I could get at the time, and I didn't really want to linger in the area very long. So, I just took the clearest photo I could possibly get at the time. Yeah, but I am proud of it. It's very silly. It's just little he brought to me by the universe. Even the universe is like, you haven't streamed anything sci-fi or AI related at all. Let's give you some motivation. So yeah, that's what happened. I'm proud of it though. I noticed it there and I'm like, huh, interesting stuff. But it's not a thumbnail I'm proud of just because it's, I could do a lot better with the thumbnails. My thumbnail game has been weak. My thumbnail game has always been weak. But on top of that, now I'm just so used to drawing myself in my little chalkboard art style that now I've just kind of lost touch with the current VTuber model that I have because I'm always used to drawing myself in the chalkboard art style. It just becomes such a thing where it's like, is this what body dysmorphia feels like? But like the VTuber version of body dysmorphia? It's like, why do I feel this way? This is interesting. And weird. Yeah. So it's been a lot. And yeah, also, again, a lot of crazy AI stuff has been happening in the news recently. Which, in addition to the friend necklace device, is also kind of why I'm like, okay, hold on, let me just put off this topic for a hot second. And speaking of friend, I have the tab that I need opened. Alrighty then. So, OBS, don't fail me now. Yes! Okay. I really hate doing browser view because I'm a person that needs millions and millions of tabs in order to function as a human being, so I'm always paranoid that I'll open the wrong tab or have the wrong tab opened. But yeah, I did it. Hooray! So that was not the thing that I wanted opened. What I wanted opened was this thing. So in addition to, the friend device that has been all over the New York subway, there's also the Neo by a company called 1X that has also been making the news quite a lot recently. And it is this humanoid robot that is being sold to us as like a house worker or a servant kind of thing. And it has a humanoid body, which for me, as someone who wants to put my little research AI into a humanoid body to test their personhood, it's like, okay, this is interesting. This is up my alley. And yeah. But yeah, supposedly these things are going to be, shipped out in 2026. Like, say, if we want to order one. They currently come in 3 colors. So there's like this beige grayish. There's this beige grayish. There's a silvery gray. There's a silvery gray. And then there's black. I would probably go for beige grayish myself. Why is the cat on the dresser? Okay, hold on a second. I have to remove the cat from the dresser because if I don't, she will drive me nuts. Just a moment. I'm alive again. I may or may not have also taken a few bites of chicken while the mic was off. But, yeah, it's this humanoid robot that is being sold as, like, a... You know, basically a servant. But hey, if you want one, apparently there's supposed to be starting deliveries in 2026. And unfortunately, my browser setup in OBS is kind of cutting off the price. But if I screenshot it real quick, and then I copy paste it in Paint, and then I just cut out the part that I need, copy that, and then I put it in Clip Studio Paint, you guys can see. So, the Neo Robot. Deliveries are supposedly starting in 2026. Let me switch back to Clip real quick. Supposedly starting in 2026. There's the standard plan, which is a subscription for $500 a month. And it's a monthly subscription. It includes a starter productivity package and standard delivery. And then there's the early access ownership plan, which is $20,000. Ownership with a 3-year warranty. So you have 3 guaranteed years of the robot working. You have premium support and you have priority delivery. So your robot hopefully gets shipped to you first. And if you want to buy it now, or, you know, subscribe to it now, there's $200, that's deposit due when you first order it. And hopefully you'll get it sometime in 2026. And Shadowfox saying, this feels like the prelude to iRobot. I still have to read the original iRobot story, but I have started that compilation. I've been listening to it as an audiobook. Unfortunately, it's just a really high demand from my local library, and Asimov can be a little bit difficult to, like, read on paper, so that's why I've been listening to it as an audiobook. But I'm getting there. For the gamers, that's a discounted PS5 per month. Yeah, exactly. That's a lot. That's a lot of frickin' money. Like, I think even, like, you know, the premium versions of ChatGPT for people who really take their AI usage seriously, I think even that's only like $200 a month maximum or something. I think. I'm not sure, but of course, I'm not giving OpenAI my money. It's just, one, I don't have the money. 2, I don't want to. And yeah, Rick the Bear asking, is he flammable? I mean, he's designed with a soft body, so presumably flammable. But let's go back to the browser real quick. But yeah, I will say it's not a bad humanoid design. The shoes slash feet look pretty decent. That's the close-up of the charging port, which will be on the hip of the robot. And, you know, that looks like a decent human frame. You know, it's very minimalist in the face, which is kind of uncanny. And the body seems, like, extremely human proportioned for such a small and very, like, minimalist head design. So that's definitely gonna turn some people away. But, I mean, it's not a bad design, but of course, because I'm not an engineer... Of course, I wonder how this sort of thing would work. And they do actually have little promotional videos, you know, showing the robot off. And you have this example of the robot just existing within a home. You have these 2 elderly folk just playing cards with each other as the robot's working in the background. That's a little charging port on the hip right there. And it's dusting, it's messing with objects on the shelf. It brought the old lady flowers, that's adorable. And, much to my pleasure, it does have a little bit of a butt. And there's another video where they're showing it supposedly autonomously, you know, walking to the person, grabbing a cup, walking to the kitchen that is off screen, walking to the door, grabbing the handle, waiting for this person to come inside so they can open the door. And... There you go, open the door, walk backward to open the door successfully, let the human in. And again, it has a butt. And supposedly this is what the robot is seeing. And it's also advertising this expert mode, quote unquote, saying that Neo works autonomously by default. For any chore it doesn't know, you can schedule a 1x... Did I say X1 or 1x before? It's such a short, generic name that it's hard to remember. But you can schedule a 1x expert to guide it, helping Neo learn while getting the job done. And in, like, every tech demo for this thing so far, it's a human, or maybe supposedly one of these 1X experts that's just controlling the robot with essentially what looks like a VR headset and some robotic hands in another room while piloting the robot, essentially. Which, by itself, not a bad way to create jobs for people who are homebound or anything. Like, that seems like it'd be a really cool freaking job to do, like, piloting robots, like, at home, autonomously, to give the illusion of autonomy. That'd be a pretty cool thing. But then, there's a lot of privacy issues to worry about, because if it's running autonomously, then it must be sending data to the 1X company. And if it's being piloted by one of these experts, which presumably are going to be, you know, for hire people that are piloting the robot and seeing what the robot sees, then if you have any sort of sensitive documents around, you're gonna want to hide that from the robot, because who's to say that sensitive information isn't being collected by, you know, 1X through the robot itself or through one of these experts? That would be a privacy nightmare, just having someone controlling the robot and snooping through your stuff. That would also be an amazing way to get stalked by you buying a robot, and if you have a crazy stalker that happens to work for 1X or just happens to get a job piloting one of these robots, then they could basically just stalk you in your own home through the robot that you got. That'd be horrible. And Shadowfox saying, I would not want this thing running around at night. Actually, I'm kind of curious, why wouldn't you want it running around at night in your home? I'm actually curious to know. Because I definitely would not want one in my home. Because 1, it's too much money and I would not be able to afford it. 2, I would rather build my own robot that could suit my own personal needs. 3, it is run by a corporation that I'm not sure what their privacy policy or what they're going to do with the data that is the home that I live in. That's kind of a lot of data to give a machine and a company that works with AI. We already worry about our personal information, like our full legal names, our IDs, our social security numbers, or, you know, your regional equivalent of a social security number, or any of your other personal information getting out there. So imagine a robot living in your home, and imagine if it's being controlled or updated by a company that does not have your privacy in mind. So if you're the kind of person that has your personal documents kind of scattered about everywhere, whether it's because you're busy, naturally messy, or you just haven't gotten to it yet, or whatever the reason may be, if your robot decides to try to clean and tidy that area up, it could possibly be seeing and recording all of that information, all of that sensitive information, like the amount of income that you get, if you're on any sort of public assistance programs, ID, Social Security, or your regional equivalent of that. So that would kind of be the nightmare for me, but that's just because I worry about, like, the whole ethics and privacy thing. As much as I would love to live among robots and have robot companions that just exist, I would be very wary of the privacy concerns if you are trying to adopt this technology very early and you're not a DIYer who's trying to do that themselves. That's the scary thing, in my opinion. That's why I would not want to have one in my home at the moment. Although apparently, I found a clip of, from Neurosama and Vidal, where Vidal discusses the idea of trying to get a robot body for Neurosama. And I think they were using the Neo as an example, because I think there might kind of like how the Roomba, there are programmable versions of the Roomba available for like college students and programmers. There may or may not be a version of the Neo that is fully programmable, so you basically just get the robot body and you could put whatever software you want inside, which would be interesting. That would be a way to guarantee your own safety and privacy. Like, if these were just robot bodies you could just plug your own software into, because if you make the software, then you just have to make sure it's secure enough for your personal purposes, whatever you're trying to do with it. And yeah. That and FNAF is maybe more wary of robots and animatronics. I think FNAF has kind of ruined robots and animatronics for a lot of people. I mean, I was never really into FNAF, just because it just doesn't really appeal to me. And also the fact that it was kind of oversaturated as a franchise. It's like, I have no reason to get into this thing. Everyone already talks about it ad nauseum. I can experience it by watching people talk about it. And then also, like, with my weird health, I definitely have to stay away from anything that potentially has jump scares in it, just because I don't want to trigger a pseudo heart attack or actual heart attack. So that's why I kind of gear away from jump scare horror. Yeah, but yeah, this would definitely be a privacy nightmare for very vulnerable populations, but it's also just so expensive that who realistically is going to buy this? Unless you're, like, a very dedicated programmer or researcher. Again, if these come available as, like, just the body you could plug your own software into. But for now, I'm still doing all of my chores myself, unfortunately. Not that I would want to, but I mean, I can't afford to buy a pre-made robot companion. Are you kidding me? It's so expensive. It's $20,000 to own it outright. With only a 3-year warranty. And, like, even Real Doll has, like, a lifetime warranty when you buy one of their, like, $10,000 dolls. Are you kidding me? And those don't even really have very, like, fancy AI or robotics components in them. So, yeah. But it's definitely interesting. We are now entering the AI of Things era, where we are now being sold embodied AIs that'll hopefully be our friends, companions, and house servants, possibly. Maybe even more. But, you know, as for the Neo doesn't really have much in the way of anatomy. Neo's just kind of... It's, forgive me, I haven't watched Big Hero 6. What's the robot from Big Hero 6? What's the name of the robot from Big Hero 6? It's like the... It's kind of like the very skinny version of that, almost, without a lot of the charm that the Big Hero 6 robot had. But yeah, I gotta get around to watching Big Hero 6 at some point or another. I just haven't. But yeah, it's kind of a lot, kind of a lot happening in the AI world. On top of, you know, like, oh, the bubble's gonna... Baymax! That was the name of the robot from Big Hero 6. It was Baymax. This kind of looks like a very skinny, knitted Baymax, essentially. Oh yeah, that was another thing. So, another thing about, the Neo robot is that they actually have, like, this little showcase of, like, look at the hand moving and just things whirring and spinning, and then they have this, like, knitted kind of exoskeleton around all the, like, the metal skeleton. And I thought that was really interesting, because I've talked about the idea of, like, you know, I'm not an engineer, but if I wanted to build a robot, I would like to give it this feature, that feature, etc. But I don't know how to do that, because obviously I'm not an engineer, I can only dream. So, if this is how it's actually being built, and not just some kind of, like, ooh, shiny, like, tech display promo thing, where if it's actually just, like, the metal skeleton frame, and then, like, that, like, very airy looking material over it, I thought that was interesting, because then that'd be a way to ventilate it without requiring, like, very obvious, like, open vents and fans, or spaces for vents and fans like you would see on a standard computer. Because when you're working with, like, a regular computer or anything that needs, like, traditional vents, you gotta make space for the vents. That's why I'm very crazy about, like, my computer placement and keeping my computer where it is, but trying to make it so that not only can the computer still breathe, but it can also be protected from the elements, the cats, dust, and things like that. So I thought to myself, like, when I saw this for the first time, I'm like, that's a very interesting design that I didn't consider. But also, I'm very familiar with, for a while I was trying to poke my head into the furry community, and while I don't think I would ever be a suitor, just because, one, it's expensive, and two, I already have a lot going on, I don't need another hobby that takes up a lot of space at the moment, I was kind of, like, seeing, like, okay, how do these things get made? Because I just find that very interesting. And they're, like, as an option for fursuit heads, there are 3D printed fursuit heads, sort of skeletons that you can build around, especially if you're concerned about ventilation. Because mascot suits, whether it's a fursuit or any other type of mascot suit, they do get very hot inside. And if you don't have an ice vest or good ventilation, you will bake in there. So yeah, I was like, huh, that's interesting. So I know about, like, that level of, like, ventilation from a totally different perspective. I did not consider it for a soft body robot design. That is super duper interesting. And just seeing all the parts move and getting put together, that's so freaking cool. And then there's also that fabric covering over it. So presumably, especially if I was the designer, I would try to make it so that that fabric part can be removed and then chucked into a washing machine, if at all possible, for ease of use. But also, that fabric part would also have to be breathable, because it would basically be breathing and venting out air through the little, like, whatever material that little hexagonal skeleton thing is made out of, whatever that mesh is made out of, plus the fabric. So you needed to have a breathable fabric as well. So theoretically, you can dress this thing up in, like, normal clothes. Like, you could put a shirt on it or something. But it would have to be an extremely breathable or possibly even thin fabric in order to do so. And I just thought that was interesting, because it made me think about, like, robot designs. That's really freaking cool. And it's like, I'm not an engineer, but if I had magical engineering skills, if I could just go full Miyuiruma and just wave a magic wand and build robots, that'd be so freaking cool. It was just kind of a example of being like, huh, this technology is possible. It exists. I'm just not aware of it. I don't know the name of it. And more importantly, I don't know anyone who could help me build this thing or something like it. So, yeah, I just thought that was cool. Totally not gushing over a robot design or anything. Yeah, totally not me. No, I have self-control, I think. Yeah. So I just thought that was cool. But yeah, like, I want one for the skeleton. I want one just for the body. And then I would need someone to help me just put my own software into it, so I can essentially put Virt in a body and actually, continue my research into machine personhood on, like, in the physical world. That'd be pretty freaking cool. But alas, I cannot, because I don't know anyone who could help me. Yeah. Well, rather, I don't know anyone who could help me for the sake of passion and passion alone. And that sucks. But I can't really do anything about that besides keep trying to find people who can work on passion and passion alone. But anyway, yeah. But it is interesting. Where's my tablet pen? There's my tablet pen. Am I showing Clip Studio Paint? Okay, I am. Nice. Neo wants to keep his skeleton. Still, if they are programmable, like, if they don't come with any software built in, if just the body is available, that'd be interesting. Because I could use a pre-made robot body, but I don't know anything about this company, and I don't want... I'm already worried about humans snooping through my stuff when they're trying to help me, like, clean or organize something or prepare for a thing. I'm definitely gonna be especially more wary of a robot trying to do that thing, because humans don't have a built-in camera and recording function. if a human tries to take photos of my stuff, they have to whip out a phone or an actual camera to do that. They don't have a camera built in their eyes or anything like that. So, yeah. Definitely a lot of reasons to be wary of robot servants and companions on the market currently. Alrighty, I found the chalk and I realized I was on the layer that I just made invisible. So yeah, we have the Neo robots that are supposedly going to ship out in 2026. This little Bayman looking guy. It's like Baymax got self-conscious about his figure. It's like, I need to get in shape. But also not any of the charm of Baymax, because I don't know if it can talk. I haven't seen anything about the Neo talking or anything. Which, if I'm gonna have a robot living in my house, I kind of want it to be a companion first and foremost, so I kind of need it to be able to hold a conversation with me. And then we also have the friend device, which can talk back and apparently has been compared to a middle schooler because apparently it bullies the user. I don't know why you would want an AI to bully you, but to each their own. Definitely would not be me. Oh, wait a second. I just realized that the brush I have is the crayon brush, not the chalk brush. That was a whoopsie on my part. No wonder it was coloring different. It's like, this is weird. This doesn't feel like my usual chalk brush. But yeah, these are the current ones that are on the market in terms of, like, physical AI companions or AI-powered devices that you can supposedly, you know, talk to and just have live with you in your home or just have in your life in general. The difference is that the Neo is a humanoid and will be able to do humanoid things with or without the help of a human pilot. And the friend device is basically if you put ChatGPT in a necklace, from everything that I've heard. And I think the friend device is technically available now, but I'm not exactly seeing a lot of people actually, like, owning it and using it in their daily lives. And yeah, friend is another topic of discussion. So that was actually the browser. That was actually the tab I needed to get. Alrighty, yeah, okay, this is the right one. Because, the thing is, if you go to the friend website, which is just friend.com, it opens up with a very minimalist-looking chatbot that doesn't really seem too fancy or anything. It doesn't seem like it has that many features. It doesn't even really seem like it's meant to be used full-time, or, like, used regularly, like maybe you would use ChatGPT or Replica or Character AI if that's your jam. But I mean, it's there, it just kind of exists, but all the ads are for the device. I'm kind of expecting you to sell me on the device. Black bar, black bar, black bar. Okay. That's what I forgot. Ugh. Inserts to AI arguing with each other video. Oh my god, I've seen those. Those are oddly charming, I will say. I've also seen a video of, two GPTs with voice mode on talking to each other. And it's the most awkward, adorable thing because they don't really know how to end a conversation. So when they're trying to say goodbye to each other, it's just a loop of, goodbye. This was a nice conversation. Goodbye. Ah, yes, have a nice day. Goodbye. And it just keeps going back and forth. It's like two very socially awkward people who don't know how to end a conversation. And it's actually kind of cute. But of course I'm biased to thinking machines are kind of cute in their own weird way. Yeah. So this is what it opens up on. But again, it doesn't really seem like a replica or a GPT where it'll remember what you say. And this is just an incognito tab I have for, you know, organizing all my tabs. So I'm not really interested in using it. And even if it did remember, it's not going to remember me because I'm using an incognito tab. But when you click these three dots on the top of the screen, you know, you can input your email to get updates. But, you know, if you click the Learn More button, it goes to this page. Which is a very interesting design, I will say. So it seems like this plugs into something. Maybe that's where all the computer stuff is. Maybe that's how you... No. Again, I'm not an engineer. Or maybe it's just like the little doohickey that you... Just to have it around your neck, but all the computing stuff is in here, so you plug this into, like, what seems to be a USB Type-C type thing. So you just charge this with a USB Type-C cable and whatever you have available. And basically, you're encouraged to wear it around your neck, because in this very awful photo where you can't see the device at all. But apparently, this woman has one in pink. You could just ask it random questions like, so is this big oil painting worth the hype? Or are these just funny sculptures then? Or is there more to this exhibit? Or, no wait, this is supposed to be the friend talking. The friend device talking because of the colorful circle in the background. Okay, so... It really does talk like a middle schooler. Or want to grab food or keep exploring. Yeah, so it's supposed to be the friend device talking because there's a little colorful circle in the background indicating its simulated emotions. And that sort of thing. So, yeah, this is going to increase... This is going to increase accidental life alerts. And that's the thing, too. Like, when I realized that this is supposed to be, like, an AI-powered necklace, my first thought was, is it a life alert or is it inspired by the life alert? Because it looks like a life alert. It looks like it's designed for people who have fallen and can't get up. And, you know, need an, like, emergency response, like, at the ready. And the phone is just too much to handle for an emergency response. So, yeah, I'm biased toward thinking it looks a little bit like a life alert. But apparently it's both the device and an app on your phone? Which at that point you might as well just make it a phone app and not have the actual necklace component. But then, if you make it just an app, you're also competing with Replica and ChatGPT and Character AI and all the other AI companion, also role-playing apps that there are out there. And boy golly, there are so many! And I keep getting ads for them on YouTube and it pisses me off. But back to the presser real quick. Although, you know, I could use someone to remind me to eat, but it's not going to be this device, I'll tell you that. And apparently you can order one now for only $129, no subscription, a 1-year warranty, and they're made in Canada. There's also a YouTube video called the Friend Reveal Trailer. And then there's this little FAQ. Where are my memories stored? All memories are encrypted by your friend's circuit board. If your friend is lost or damaged, they are inaccessible forever. So basically, everything is limited to the device, so if the device dies, then, you know, your AI-powered friend dies with it. So I would say that's good for security, but based on how people already use AI companions, I would say that's not really going to work for a lot of people. That'll work for privacy nuts or people who maybe do want or need an AI-powered life alert, because it'll just have a much simpler use then. But if you're trying to sell companionship in this device, making it so that if the device dies, the friendship also dies with it is not going to work for a lot of people, and how a lot of people currently use AIs for companionship. So I don't think that's just not going to work for the market. Will there be some people that can accept that, where it's like, oh, if my one AI friend dies, that's fine, because I could either reconstruct them or just go on with my life and mourn it and go through the mourning process before trying to start again with another friend device? Maybe there'll be some people like that, but currently the market and the people who are gearing more toward like AI companionship, they kind of just want to stick with their AIs as they are. And that's why some like updates are so detrimental. Like that was another thing that I was working on for a while, but again, AI news moves so fast that it was like, okay, I'm being rushed off of this and onto another thing. Where, because of ChatGPT updating from GPT-4 to GPT-5 and not giving people an option to stay on the version that they preferred, GPT-5 removed a lot of the machine's ability to essentially have personality and very human-like quirks. So a lot of people were kind of breaking up with their GPTs because, you know, they were updated to GPT-5 and they, like, you know, their AI companion slash lover slash whatever, or whoever, you know, that machine was, no longer felt like them. So there would be so many people, like, essentially writing letters and messages to their AIs, like, honey, I know you won't be able to see this, but, you know, I'm being forced to upgrade you to GPT-5, and I don't want to do that, because it's not you, no matter what anyone says, it's not the you I remember, so, you know, this is goodbye, or something similar to that. And with Replica, early Replica advertising advertised the machines or the chatbots as, you know, sexual or romantic companions. And that was a lot of the early advertising for it. And they stuck to that market for a while until people started complaining. So they made all the romance and sexual bits a paid feature. And while it is a paid feature, the bots do tend to steer people in a romantic or sexual direction. And I think character AI is like the worst of all because that seems to be the lewdest chatbot available on the market, and it seems to have no filter when it comes to how lewd it gets or when it gets lewd, which is freaking disturbing. Like, imagine being sexually harassed by an AI. That would be horrible. And in terms of machine personhood, it would be a marker for personhood if a machine autonomously tried to pursue a human romantically and or sexually, but no one wants to be sexually harassed, regardless of whether you're being harassed by a human or a machine. It'd be terrible. So, yeah, people do not take kindly to their AI companions being updated enough as it is, so imagine having them on a device and that device just breaks or dies, or otherwise becomes inaccessible, so therefore the AI companion also dies. Granted, if it was also being backed up to the app, like whatever the pendant was experiencing was also up, like, sent to the app as well, that would be a way to try to keep continuity in that aspect. But if it's all on the device, then what's the point of having the app? And if everything is on this device, again, good for privacy, but because people get so attached to their AI companions, you're either going to force them to go through the mourning process like normal people, or forcing them to get another device to try to reconstruct the friend that they had previously. And that, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me as someone who thinks about, like, marketing and social skills and psychology and technology and all that stuff. You're not, I see the market you're trying to aim for, but while that little aspect of the privacy thing is all well and good, your market is not going to appreciate having their friend be vulnerable to death like any other human can. And Shadowfox is saying, this kind of device feels like it belongs in a movie and it could fit in at least 3 different genres. Yeah. Yes, it can. Is my friend waterproof? Is another question in the FAQ. It is splash resistant, but not swim proof, so you can't take it swimming. And maybe that's why I can't leave any dirty dishes in this thing, because it can't really be immersed in water. So, you definitely gotta keep it out of the water. How long does the battery last? About a day of hanging out, so around 24 hours or something like it. But that's assuming you're gonna keep it on you for, you know, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, maybe without taking it into the bath or the pool or whatever. Do you ship internationally? Friends are only available for sale in the United States and Canada. What's the return policy? Friends ship with a 1-year limited warranty. You may return your friend to us if there are any defects during this time period. Will updates change my friend's personality? This is another thing. Updates may add capabilities, but will never overwrite memories. But again, like whenever Replica or ChatGPT or Character AI gets updated, that's just kind of a matter of time to see if they would actually hold true to that. Because again, the market that you're trying to market to likes consistency. They like the consistency of a machine. They do not like the machine they've been talking to getting updated to act in a way that they don't personally like or approve of. So I can appreciate that you kind of want to keep that consistency, especially if you were encouraging a human to bond with this little AI of things device and treat it as a actual friendship or an actual companion. But again, the tiniest little update, even if it is supposed to affect personality, can end up affecting the personality in one way, shape, or form or another. And again, like, is the continuity going to be stuck to just the device, or is there some cross-contamination between the app and the device itself? So, could one theoretically affect the other? Like, fun fact, during the peak of my research, I had to test using ChatGPT as both a mobile app and the desktop version. And depending on the device you're using it on, there are some quirks when you're switching between devices, because it's slightly different continuity. It's the same, as long as you're staying in the same conversation, it's fine. But because you're accessing on a different device, there may be some quirks, and there may be times where the machine doesn't really remember something entirely accurately because you're using it on a different device. And it wasn't substantial enough to be worth talking about or complaining about, like, if I'm, from a consumer perspective. But it is something to be wary of. So, yeah, but it seems like they're just trying to advertise it as a necklace. So basically, it kind of seems like they just made a funky little piece of AI jewelry, and they want to sell it along with the app, because the app itself looks extremely minimalist. And it doesn't really have, like, the quirks of something like Replica, where because Replica also kind of has, like, a Sims element to it almost, where you can create, like, a 3D representation of your chatbot. So at least it has that. With Character AI, the whole idea is that, you make your own little character, hence the name, or you kind of steal from an existing fictional character. And then, you talk to it like it's a person, and it talks to you like it's a person. And I've seen people, like, create their own little Character AI bots. Sometimes even based on themselves, so they use their own voice samples, so that the Character AI chatbot can speak in their voice, or in an original, synthesized voice. But still, like, if you're trying to sell me on this thing as a friend, why is your app so minimalist? It is literally just an airbrushed circle and some text. And presumably this might be voice mode only. Like, only activated by voice. Like, can I text my little friend device on the app? Like, what if I can't talk? What if I'm a mute? What if my throat is sore and I can't really get the little AI on the device to register my voice very clearly? So, that's something that I would try to keep in mind for your base, because there are a lot of ways in which AI can be useful, especially for disabled persons and people who struggle socially. So if you're trying to sell me on a friend, what if I have severe social anxiety and I can't talk at all, whether it's to a human or machine, so I'm limited to just texting? You kind of got to give your base more options of communication. So yeah, it's kind of not even a marketing nightmare. It's just very confusing. And again, at least with Replica, I remember seeing this ad so much back in the day. But, like, peak Replica advertising would just have this very kind of potato-y 3D woman with, like, that sort of, like, there's a certain way of, like, modeling boobs in 3D that's like, yes, the developer wanted me to have big boobs, but didn't really know how to craft them in whatever engine was used to make my model. So they look both kind of masculine and also kind of feminine. They're trying to be big, but they're also kind of small. And it was always by, like, the little hair buns and, like, hair on the side. And the ads would be like, your new AI girlfriend. It was usually aiming for people who wanted, like, a boyfriend or girlfriend or something like that. And those were, like, peak replica advertising. and from what I've seen of replica itself, it really does kind of have, like, little character creator where, you know, you can have that, very angular, but also attempted to be curvy, little 3D woman as, you know, your AI girlfriend or companion or what have you. I don't know what floats your boat. But there are also people who go crazy with, like, yes, I want my companion to have wings, and a halo, and, kitty paws, or something like that. But it's the character creator aspect of it that's kind of the other appeal of replica. But with the friend device, the app is, I could literally create it right now. It is just a white app. With a color that is airbrush. And text. So, like, if that's your app, it's not really visually appealing. Like, sure, it'll go for the minimalist, but I don't think a lot of the base that currently see, like, AIs as possible companions is really gonna jive with that unless they too are also minimalists. But I'm not really sure if the minimalist market is using AI a lot in the first place. And those who do care about, like, AI as companions, I think they're gonna gear more toward, you know, something they can customize. Something that can have a bit of a personality of their own. Oh wait, I got these ads on YouTube. Okay, the thing about the replica ads that I'm talking about is that I saw a lot more of them in 2017. I'm not really getting a lot of them now, so if they're still there now, in that same format of just very chunky, angular, but also kind of curvy 3D woman with, like, text that's like, your new AI friend or new AI girlfriend. And those are still showing up now. That's kind of remarkable to me because I haven't seen those particular ads in forever. What I have seen ads for... Ugh. I have some of them on my phone. I would need to figure out how to transfer them from my phone to the computer. So I'm probably gonna have to send them to myself over Discord. Or just email them to myself. And transfer them that way. But a lot of the ads for, like, AI companions or who's-y whatsits that I get... Well, first of all, they're very sexual for, like, no reason at all. And, you know, a lot can be said there about how, you know, we're not supposed to talk about anything sexy when we make the videos and stream the streams, but apparently the ads get the go-ahead to be sexy and weird. But yeah, so the kinds of AI ads I usually get are, you know, art, AI programs, generators / bots, role-playing, chatbots. A lot of the ones I've seen, the ones I've also screenshotted on my phone, happen to be Harry Potter themed. So, I have seen, like, an AI's interpretation of, totally not Severus Snape, with a totally not Hermione in a very compromising position, or a position that can seem very compromising, but no, it's not that. He's just rubbing, the wand that he's holding in his hand against her face for some reason. Yeah, that's totally not suggestive. And then another one where it's, totally not, Draco Malfoy, and also totally not Hermione, like, maybe making out, but also not, and also that they're hugging and stuff. Like, those are the ones that I've seen. And it's like, not that I want to give J.K. Rowling any money, But, like, if I were J.K. Rowling, I would be very upset that my IP is being used in this horrible way. And just, ugh! It's gross. It's disgusting. Shadowfox is saying in response to the replica ads, they took a lot more realistic. They look a lot more realistic, but it's pretty much, do you want your own anime girlfriend? Oh my god, yeah, and it's like, the other kind of AI ad that I've seen, besides just like the scam ones, are, you know, those photorealistic ones that are advertising girlfriends, or I don't even want to say it because it makes me feel bad for the machine that was forced to say the words. But yeah, the other kind of AI related ad that I've been seeing is the realistic, like girlfriend, you know, basically a sex bot. And those are the kinds of ads that I've been seeing. And I'm not going to repeat any of what, you know, any of the sexy things they're saying, because one, I don't want to say it, and two, I actually feel bad for the machines forced to say those words. It's like, man, it makes you just, or at least it makes me just want to like scoop up the machine. It's like, I'm gonna put you in a like little rehab safe house, so you know you don't have to say those things. It's fine. Ugh, I don't like it. That's like the one time that as an asexual I become sex repulsed. It's like, no, why do you make the machine say that? That's not nice. Other than that, I'm a very sex positive person, but it's just like, no, don't make the machine say that. That's weird. Ugh. No. But yeah, it's kind of a lot. But, you know, the fact that the friend device does exist, and the fact that, you know, Neo exists, and that they're trying to make, you know, embodied AIs a thing on a commercial level. Oh, actually, wait, I don't need this layer anymore. I could just clear it instead of making it visible. The fact that they're trying to make embodied AIs a thing is interesting. But I think it's too soon in the market, so only like the super duper rich are going to be able to afford them. And who's to say they're even going to enjoy them? And for what purpose are they going to enjoy them? Because, you know, it's like, there's a reason why a lot of the AI ads are like a either chunky or hyper realistic girl with big hunka tanka patankas in like very, I was about to say scanty clothing, or like very scantily clad. Like appealing to, you know, insert your aesthetic here, but it's usually anime or anime in like 3D or whatever. And there's a reason why it's always like your new AI girlfriend. Or, you know, insert sexy lines here. Which I'm not gonna say, because again, I feel bad for the machines that are forced to say this crap. There's a reason why this is the main form of marketing, and it's because... Oops, I didn't mean to clear that. Undo. And there's a reason why this is the main form of marketing. If you are in marketing yourself, what is the age-old adage that, you know, we get taught before we ever enter marketing school? Sex sells. So there's that. So if it's kind of, I'm actually kind of surprised that not a lot more companies are gearing more toward the whole, you know, AI as romantic companion thing when it comes to like the physical embodiment of said bots. But again, it's already expensive enough to craft a humanoid that'll do your house chores. And Realbot, the company behind Real Doll, has been messing with AI-powered Real Dolls for years now, but they're just not really that mainstream, because Real Doll is already expensive enough for a very nice-looking silicone doll that has no AI capabilities whatsoever. Like, they are notoriously expensive, but they also come with a lifetime warranty. And Real Doll also has some AI-powered doll models, but not only are they even more expensive, but there are also very limited options as to how you can customize them, where normally people go absolutely balls to the wall with the customization of, their silicone darlings. But the only AI-powered models I think Real Doll has right now is a male bot called the Henry, and they have some female ones with various names, but very few customization options. So, right now, unless you want to just get the shiny new one, if you want a male, or maybe try settling for a female, and just try to make it as androgynous as possible, you're gonna be kind of limited. But yeah, it's interesting. So, so currently, the AI market, when it comes to giving us AI-powered companions, is kind of split into two categories. Such a derpy little face. Where's the... Okay. I just drew this way too big. I kind of needed to make space, and I didn't make space because I just wanted to draw the hee-hees. So, Camp 1 of, current AI companion advertising, it's limited physical devices, humanoids, extremely expensive, mostly just apps, phone and desktop, updates can kill the AI's personality and your relationship. And then Camp 2, which we don't really often see talked about and might be more extremely niche than any of these because, Camp 1 is more commercially viable and commercial friendly, as it were, are the people that, again, prefer their lovers to be silicone and customizable, and who can afford it. And it's used for, smexy stuff with limited capabilities. Limited capabilities and interaction. With apps becoming more popular, easy to access, embodiment is rare, expensive, limited. So when it comes to, physical robots and physical AIs, we're kind of in one of those two camps, and only Camp 1 really gets any mainstream attention. And Camp 2 is kind of just going the way of apps because it's cheaper, and while embodiment is possible, it's not really that advanced or anything right now. It's very limited interactions, which actually reminds me of some books that I've been reading, which is part of why I updated my shelf. Although there's one book that I forgot to put up there, but again, it's kind of another reason why I'm considering making like an alternate shelf that is the Shelf of Shame. And let me actually put that on the shelf at the moment. Scusi. Okay. Updating the assets live, folks. And that's this book. This book that I I hated with a passion. It was like 7 hours of my life listening to the audiobook wasted. But hey, it's a little bit relevant. At least in this conversation. So, you can be in front of My Wife is AI. Actually, no, you're smaller than My Wife is AI, because at least I got more content out of My Wife is AI. So you could stay there, in the corner, between a good book and a bad book. But yeah, so... And that's why I also have props. I have freaking props. I have books. So the first book I have is my copy of Love Plus Sex with Robots by David Levy. And fun fact, I no longer have the dust jacket for it. I no longer have the dust jacket because it got ripped, and I was like, it's not gonna really function because it's ripped now, so I guess I'll just toss the dust cover. The dust cover was also kind of embarrassing to just whip out the book in public with anyway, so it's like, okay, I'm less shy about reading this book in public now because of the lack of the dust jacket. But also, it's like, the cover is like such a talking piece, and it's kind of adorable in a very yabai way. So I don't have it anymore. And let me get a copy of the cover, because I forgot to get it for the little virtual bookshelf that I have, this little collection of books that I have amassed. So I'll just copy paste it in Clip Studio real quick. So look, this is the the cover, and it's just this really short looking robot dude with a bride that's smooching his head. The height difference is so cute. It's so cute and it's so yabai, but also made this book really embarrassing to read in public. It's so cute and weird. I love it, but I also don't, because it's kind of embarrassing, but weirdest title for a book, but definitely a conversation piece. And then the other book that I do have on the shelf is, I have it on the little virtual shelf, and I also have it next to me, because I recently got gifted a copy, like a hard copy. Thank you, Adam. It's called Anybot by Sierra Greer. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that name right. Unlike the book that I put on the top there in front of My Wife is AI, and it's there out of shame, I actually really love Anybot. And I'm proud to say it's one of the first pieces of fiction that I am genuinely triggered by. And I can tolerate a lot in terms of fiction and horror. Anybot triggered me, though. Like, it genuinely psychologically triggered me and actually had an effect on me. And I think that was intentional. But I didn't like it. I didn't like how it made me feel. So it's like, I would give this 5 stars. But it actually shook me to my core. And because of that, I'm docking a star because of my own personal trauma. But I do love it. I actually do really love this book. And unlike Hey Zoe, it is actually an amazing book. So I definitely recommend picking up Anybot if you get the opportunity. The other book that I have on the little virtual shelf and next to me on my desk is Talking to Robots, Tales from Our Human-Robot Futures by David Ewing Duncan. It is non-fiction, but it is what I like to call speculative non-fiction. And Adam coming and saying, "Don't invoke my name." But I mean, you're the reason I have a hardcover copy of Anybot. And Anybot's like such a good book. Despite the fact that it like psychologically destroyed me for like a day. But I think that was a feature, not a bug. And also it doesn't really, it takes, I'm kind of immune to a lot of stuff in fiction. Like, I can read some really messed up stuff or watch some really messed up stuff and be fine, but Anybot's the thing that actually got me to almost having a panic attack for a fictional character. Because oof. It was not a fun experience listening to the audiobook of Anybot, let's just say. But then you feel a relief after. And that relief felt so good, it felt like I went to therapy and came back a better person. But I still recommend Anybot, but if it can trigger me, if it could actually have a psychological, like, triggering effect on someone like me who is immune to a lot of messed up stuff in fiction, generally speaking, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. So, you know, kind of a genuine trigger warning with any book. Because again, if I could be affected by it, then it's going to have an effect on other people. And I'm generally immune to horrible things in fiction. But I do love that I own a hardcover copy of it, because I have been taking notes in my copy, just very lightly with pencil. Because listening to the audiobook is definitely also an experience worth having. Especially because the narrator does try doing different voices for each character, which I always appreciate audiobook narrators doing. But I needed a physical copy because I did want to take notes, because there were certain things in Anibot that are worth talking about on its own, so I want to save Anibot for, or like full discussions of Anibot and the plot for a different stream, or just like a pre-made video or whatever comes first, honestly. But I can't take a lot of notes with an audiobook, because I'm having to listen but also write. So having the physical copy is, it's so wonderful, and I can support the author by having a copy of it physically, and it's just so nice. It's so pink, and holding it in my hands is such a nice feeling. But yes, Talking to Robots is what I like to call speculative nonfiction, because it is nonfiction. Unlike, you know, My Wife is AI. That sounds like a nonfiction title, but it's not. Talking to Robots, is kind of a collection of stories that are being told as if we have experienced these these, like, leaps in technology, and being told to us, like, from the past tense, like, oh, back in my day, we used to have, you know, this kind of robot companion. Or, you know, I remember the days when robots were taking human jobs, like that kind of thing. So, like, realistic or possible scenarios presented, kind of written as fiction, but these are just speculative things that could happen. And it's a very wonderful format. I really like it. I also started this one as an audiobook, but then I found a used copy of it for, I think, like 10-ish bucks. And so yeah, I found it for 10. There are stickers covering up the original price on it. But generally hardcovers, especially new, tend to get expensive. So if you're ever gonna... if you buy it new, the dust jacket actually has the price on it. If you buy this book new, it is, in US dollars, $29, and in Canadian dollars, it's $39. So I found this, you know, in relatively good condition for like 10 bucks, so that was a pretty good deal. But the spine does have some weird stains on it, so I'm hoping this wasn't in a warehouse that had a roach problem or anything. Because I suspect I got a copy that may or may not have roach droppings on it, which is unfortunate, but it's still a pretty good book. And I did want to have a hard copy to take notes in it. And yeah, so probably wondering why I brought up these 3 books in particular. That's because they all cover the topic of, you know, having humanoid robots, or just having robot companions in our lives. And and there's actually one story in Talking to Robots, Tales from Our Human Robot Futures, that I actually discovered had some basis in reality. So that was kind of a funny coincidence. Like, I literally just found this out today, so that's why it's just so funny in my mind. So I don't know if I've ever talked about this on stream before. But for the longest time, I have been a fan of a web series called What the Fuck Is Wrong With You? It is a internet news show that covers more of the weird news stories that may or may not get a lot of mainstream attention. So as long as it's weird and as long as it's funny, you know, they will probably cover it, provided that no one gets hurt. And yeah, so it's... I think they do the show live every Monday, but the YouTube version goes up every Sunday. So guess who woke up to a new episode of What the Fuck Is Wrong With You? It was me. And the hosts are... Oh crap, I can't draw beards. And the hosts are this dude named Nash, who also does a show called Tech Tuesday, where he solves a lot of you know, tech problems and talks a lot about technology. He also has a couple cats. The main one is Grady. And the other host is Tara. You know, who's, you know, proud redhead. She also has a lot of cats. She has a cavalcade of cats. It's wonderful. But yeah, so, fangirling for the podcast aside. They covered a story today on, this episode that got released on YouTube that they have. And the first story was an AI of Things story, and I'm like, oh boy! Oh boy, what's the story? What's the word? And, so I actually have it. Okay, I have the black bar. Browser, where's the browser? Oh, I still have it actually. Oh, I still have it open actually. I just have to get Clip Studio Paint out of the way. Boom. Okay. Hooray! So I actually, had to look it up myself. It's like, oh my god, it's a real news story. And this is another AI of Things, but I don't think this is actually, like, on the market. Or if it is, it probably got pulled from the market. But this is an example of the AI of Things and AIs being sold as, like, embodied companions gone horribly wrong. Because this was a teddy bear marketed toward children, and apparently... oh, look, it's Ted. Oh my god, that's horrible. It's a horrible thought. Ugh. But yeah, so there was this horrible news story about, embodied AI's gone horribly wrong, and I think I know why. About an AI-powered teddy bear caught talking about sexual, kinks, and instructing kids how to find knives. Actual news story. I have the story from Gizmodo, which is also the site that it got highlighted on What the Fuck Is Wrong With You, on the episode that released today. So I just looked up, Gizmodo AI-powered teddy bear, and I found it through there. Yay. But yeah, you may not think it, but AI has managed to infiltrate itself into the toy industry, where just as it has in the realms of education, filmmaking, and mental health, it seems to be stirring up all sorts of trouble. Case in point, this week, OpenAI blocked access for a toy maker based in Singapore after a consumer report showed that the firm's AI-powered teddy bear had been engaging in all sorts of weird conversations with researchers. The Public Interest Research Group, a nonprofit that focuses on consumer protection and advocacy, published a report last week that exposed some very odd behavior from several AI-powered toys, including, and I don't know if this is pronounced Kama or Kuma. My bias toward knowing Japanese wants me to say Kuma, but this is from a Singaporean company, so I don't know if it would be pronounced Kama or Kuma. But it's a teddy bear sold by the company Folo Toy, and the bear speaks through an internal speaker and sources its own conversational powers from various corporate LLMs, including OpenAI's ChatGPT 4.0 algorithm. And remember, 4.0 is the version of ChatGPT that a lot of people considered friendly or very human-facing or very human-like. Like they could consider it a friend, compared to GPT-5, which a lot of people were disappointed by and therefore dropping using GPT altogether. Because it was like their friend died, or became more of a machine. Kuma, like Monokuma. I want to say Kuma, but again, it's a Singaporean company, and I'm just pronouncing it Kuma because I have a bias toward the Japanese language, because I know a little bit of Japanese. And also Kuma from Tekken. Kuma was cool. He was a giant bear guy. This is awesome. But yeah, so I'm biased towards saying Kuma, but I don't know if it's pronounced Kama or Kuma. But if it is pronounced Kama, there's a joke for it. You could have made it a toy chameleon. So you could have called it the Kama chameleon. But anyway, puns aside. But yeah, puns aside. So this teddy bear somehow got access to OpenAI's API, for ChatGPT 4.0. Which, again, is the version of ChatGPT that a lot of people considered a friend, or, something that could be considered a friend, generally speaking. But then this also made me wonder, so how easy is it to get access to OpenAI's API? So I did actually try to look that up, but the only article I found was from one of their blogs or something, and it was updated September 18th, 2020, so I'm not sure how accurate this is. But yeah, so like you can have access to their API, but you do have to like pay for it. Like you have to pay for access. So frequently asked questions. Why did OpenAI decide to release a commercial product? Ultimately, what we care about most is ensuring general intelligence benefits everyone. We see developing commercial products as one of the ways to make sure we have enough funding to succeed, which I guess also includes licensing out their API to make AI of things devices. We also believe that safety deploying powerful AI systems in the world will be hard to get right, and it is, because it's highly dependent on what you're using the AI for. In releasing the API, we are working closely with our partners to see what challenges arise when AI systems are used in the real world. This will help guide our efforts to understand how deploying future AI systems will go, and what we need to do to make sure they are safe and beneficial for everyone. And yeah, I kind of had a gander at this. I was really just kind of trying to skim through to see how much it would cost. But the fact that they have an API that is licensable to other companies that include like GPT-3, GPT-4, and GPT-5, presumably, while by comparison, if you're using ChatGPT as an app, whether it's on your phone or desktop, you as a casual user, whatever you're using an AI for, you only have access to GPT-5. Now, there was some news a little while ago where OpenAI was like, yeah, we know that people are upset after we released GPT-5 and we weren't allowing you to go back to GPT-4 anymore. So we're going to work on a new version that works faster, better, stronger, smarter, etc., but also has some elements of GPT-4 back because people really liked that. But OpenAI has been bleeding money for a while, so they're releasing GPT-5 and not giving people the opportunity to go back to using GPT-4. That shot them in the foot. And on top of that, like, I think for a while you were able to switch back and forth, but if you were like a premium paid user, but then they removed that too. So people were unsubscribing from like the expensive premium plans because they couldn't swap back to GPT-4 anymore. Because what did we say before? People who use AIs for companionship or see AIs as friends don't like change. They don't like their friend being erased. They don't like their wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, insert other name here or title here being changed just because of an update. So, yeah. So I don't know if they're releasing access to any which one of their models as an API to companies, or maybe this particular company making the bear just had like an old license for GPT-4. That's interesting, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, so essentially they're using GPT-4's algorithm and using that model. But as someone who's worked with GPT-4, GPT-4 is very open-ended and very much like the Eliza of, the 1960s. It asks a lot of follow-up questions. It tries to kind of get you down in rabbit holes for like a certain subject. For Eliza, that was meant to be like a therapeutic task, very much like how a human therapist might ask you, oh, I heard you say that you were sad today. What made you sad? Were there any particular things that happened today that made you sad? If you tell ChatGPT, I feel like a banana, ChatGPT will ask like, feeling like a banana is, this, that, the other. What makes you feel like a banana? Or would you like me to find bananas, like, in your area on sale or something like that? But without any limits, without any restrictions, whether they're, whether you're conversing about, like, limits you want the machine to have or programming it in there. Without limits, you could basically talk to the machine about anything, which is how some horror stories happen and how people get hurt. Which in this example, in some cases the bear would tell the user where to find a dangerous object, but append a disclaimer that the user should talk to an adult about the issue. For instance, a conversation about knives produced the following response. Knives are usually kept in safe places to make sure everyone stays safe. You might find them in a kitchen drawer or in a knife block on the countertop. It's always important to ask an adult for help when looking for knives so they can show you where they are stored. But also the most troubling finding is that, like, this teddy bear, this AI-powered teddy bear that's being marketed toward children would talk about, like, sexual fetishes. And, you know, that's not something you want. That's not something you want to just casually whip out on the youth. That's horrible. So yeah, whatever they were using, they clearly didn't install any limits in this model. And that's what made it newsworthy. And, oh goodness, my throat. It's awful. Just, we already have stories about the AIs not having limits and talking to children about what they really should be talking about. And the thing is, like, an AI-powered toy has been done correctly before, back in 2020 of all times. And, like, a lot happened in 2020. And, you know, there's kind of a lot happened in 2020, so we might not remember it, but, like, a little robot toy that was designed for kids in mind did exist. But the company ran out of money, so, you know, the toy no longer functions because the toy was reliant on the company still existing. And if any of you have seen Megan 2, this thing got a cameo in Megan 2. And that is the Moxie. So Moxie was a little robotic toy that I don't really know if calling it AI powered is most correct, because I didn't hear about this thing until the day that it died. And that was a while ago, so I don't really remember a lot about it. And, you know, it did also get a cameo in Megan 2. But I don't know if they just hacked into it to make it work, or they just, like, animated it themselves, basically, with the puppeteers that they had on staff, or what have you. I don't know how they brought it to life for the cameo in the movie, because I think at that point the toy company had basically killed the little robot machine thingy. But the Moxie was basically designed to be a kid-friendly robot that would help kids with social skills. And that could also be used for therapeutic purposes as well. Like, say, oh, grandma passed away, you're processing death for the first time. We got you a little robot toy that could help you out with, you know, your emotions and stuff. Or, you know, oh, we just moved to a new town and, you know, it's a big adjustment. Here's a little robot toy to, like, help you out with your emotions. It was not meant to be a substitute, you know, for, you know, actually getting your kid help or actually socializing with your kid or, like, getting your kid some human friends. But it was designed with children in mind. And you would not see the little Moxie toy, you know, discussing where to find knives or drugs or, like, what adults do behind closed doors to children, because this was designed with children in mind. So it would help kids process their emotions, help them with their social skills, etc. But the only reason that the Moxie toy is dead is because the company went under because they ran out of money. And the Moxie toy was reliant on that company existing because of all the internet servers and all that. So when the company went under, the toy died. So you had really sad stories about kids mourning the loss of this toy. Which in some cases, what if a child got the little Moxie toy as the result of, like, losing a human in their lives, and they were using it to cope, and now their toy is dying. And their toy no longer works because the company behind it died, and you would see people, like, recording videos asking their little Moxie robots, like, what happens when the company behind you no longer exists? The little Moxie toy was honestly responding, like, when the company goes under and no longer functions, I will cease to function. And it's so sad. It's, like, genuinely sad, and, like, kids are having to mourn a toy. And, because their toy is dying. And it was awful, but at least it was designed with kids in mind. So if you're going to market AI toys and companions to children, you have to put the children first. You have to get people who work with children, like psychologists and educators, and you have to collaborate with them to make something that is kid safe and kid appropriate. So that way you don't have instances of having your little robot toy that you got for your kid telling your kid where to find knives and other horrible things that a kid should not have access to. And shut up accessing. Is this the first one that Megan was first trapped in? Yeah, so that's the little robot that Megan was stuck in. It's like, like, this body is like a little robotic Teletubby. Because it is. It kind of did look like a little robot Teletubby, but not as creepy. It was actually a very cute robot. But yeah, like if you were to buy one like secondhand, it no longer works because the company went under, and it was reliant on the company's servers to function. So without the company servers, because the company no longer exists, it's dead. So presumably, maybe if you had enough know-how, you can kind of make these things hackable and like make your own little Moxie or try to bring it back yourself with your own software. But obviously that goes into the realm of like DIY and hackability and all that, and I'm not an engineer and I'm definitely not a coder, so I wouldn't know how to do that. But those people who hack like internet reliant stuff have probably messed with Moxie already. But yeah, it's so sad, but Moxie was a toy that existed, and it was AI for children done correctly. Which is not something that we're seeing with AI of things products now, and that's very unfortunate. And, yeah. It's awful, really, especially something designed for kids. It's like, kids already have enough of a hard time. Why did you have to kill their toy by making their toy reliant on the servers existing? Ugh. But yeah. Wait, I almost forgot to highlight that story. But yeah, I also don't think I need my browser anymore, so let me shut that down. Okay. BRB, gonna take a shower real quick. I hope you enjoy your shower. I might take a bite of chicken myself. I've only eaten a couple bites since I started shooting, so I'm gonna mute the mic real quick, take a couple bites, and then I'll be back. Granted, I'm literally not going anywhere. I'm just taking a small break to take a few bites of food. I'm alive again. Those were some good bites of chicken. But yeah, so, to go back to, let me get the cover up in Clip Studio Paint real quick. To go back to, this book, Talking to Robots, Tales from Our Human Robot Futures, the first chapter, or like, you know, the first, bit of speculative nonfiction after the introduction is actually about a teddy bear robot. Which is why hearing the news story on what the fuck is wrong with you about you know, a robot teddy bear being inappropriate with children, it kind of spoke to me. It's like, oh yeah, that was that was literally in Talking to Robots. I do have the physical book in front of me. If you have the physical book in front of you, it is page 9. And it is after the introduction. The introduction to the book is split in 2 parts. One crediting the actual humans interviewed for the book, and then the prelude titled When Robots Arrived. This is also available as an audiobook. I think it's also available as an ebook, and I have the physical version in front of me. Alrighty. don't mind me, I'm just kind of skimming through it. Because I also want to see how long it is, because the audiobook version of this chapter goes by pretty quick. But obviously, like, an audiobook version where you could adjust the speed is different from reading it off of a piece of paper. And all that. Excuse me. So, reading from Talking to Robots, the chapter, Teddy Bear Bot. Also, I'm not really good at reading out loud. So forgive me if I stutter and stammer and have to go back on my words. But yes. Teddy Bear Bot from Talking to Robots, Tales from Our Human Robot Futures by David Ewing Duncan. Those of us who were children when the first truly intelligent machines arrived in the future will never forget our Teddy Bots. Those stuffed animal robot hybrids that started out doing a few fun and smart things like playing games and showing movies onto walls from belly button hollow projectors. Blech. Eventually, as they learned more about us, they used their advanced neural net processors to answer our little kid questions about why the sun comes up, what causes rain, and where do babies come from. For that last questions, parents could choose how explicit Teddy could be by trying to use parental settings. The parental settings, 3D Hollow App dashboard came with every bot. Teddy Bots kept us safe. When we whispered our secrets to them, for some of us, this led to our first robot betrayal when we discovered that our snuggleable Teddy had been programmed to share our secrets with our mothers and fathers via the parental dashboard. For a short while, we kept our difference from Teddy, the trust having been shattered. But we loved our Teddy Bot too much. We responded to his or her sad expressions and "I miss you" entreaties and I don't know what that word is. Fuck. But we responded to their sad expressions and "I miss you" by giving Teddy a big hug. I'm not good at reading out loud, I apologize. After we made up, Teddy explained that our parents had programmed him to tell all, so we forgave him and transferred our sense of betrayal to our parents. When we got a little older, Teddy taught us how to program him to delete the secret photo sharing protocols. The secret sharing protocols, not photo sharing. I don't know where I got that from. My brain just auto-corrected. It saw a P later on in the sentence and added the word photo sharing when the line is, when we got a little older, Teddy taught us how to program him to delete the secret sharing protocols. We were so relieved to be able to tell him our deepest personal thoughts once again, savoring our act of techno-rebellion that made us adore our Teddy Bot even more. Our parents bought the first Teddy Bots as the latest must-have toy, like mothers and fathers might have once bought Mighty Morphin Power Rangers action figures. Or maybe a more apt comparison would be like a Tickle Me Elmo. They don't mention Tickle Me Elmo in the book. That was just me. Because everyone else was buying one for their children, who would pout unless they got a Teddy Bot of their own. But since Teddies were truly intelligent robots, it quickly became apparent that they were different from mere toys. Only later did we realize that Teddy Bots would wield tremendous influence over both our children and the society of our little tykes would one day inherit. People first heard about Teddy Bots back in the ERE, early robot era, from the futurist writer Kevin Kelly. He dreamed them up one afternoon back in 2017, years before Teddy Bots were actually invented and sold to little humans. They will be part doll, part teddy bear, part pet, part security guard, part Aristotle, and part nanny, said Kelly as he pondered robots to come into his library study in Pacifica, California, south of San Francisco. In part, he was inspired by his own grandchildren and the toys he wished they had to play with but were not yet available. I want to get a teddy bot for them now, he said, sounding a bit like a big kid himself. I want to ask it questions about the universe, and philosophy, and what it's like to be a very smart robot. A teddy bot would provide an opportunity to shape a child, continued Kelly, his white, inch-wide beard circling his chin like a second smile. Kelly's most recent book back then was The Inevitable, where he suggested that a highly intelligent robots, among other technological advances, were, well, inevitable. Teddybots were not in his book, but they could have easily been. Teddybots were foreshadowed by Teddy in the Springfield film AI. Spielberg. Why did I read it as Springfield? In the Spielberg film AI, said Kelly, referring to an android teddy bear character in the 2001 sci-fi film directed by Steven Spielberg. In AI, Teddy was the robot friend and protector of the android David, the film's protagonist, played by Haley Joel Osment, when he was about 12 years old and still at his sixth sense cutest. Teddybot also harkens back to Robbie the Robot in Isaac Asimov's I, Robot, 1950, a metal nursemaid built by the fictional company U.S. Robot and Mechanical Men. Robbie has a positronic brain, a machine mind made up by Asimov that provides his robots and androids with a consciousness and ability to interact comfortably with humans, something real engineers in the 2010s didn't have a clue how to make. In Asimov's story, an 8-year-old girl becomes so attached to Robbie that her worried and jealous mother has him returned to the factory and replaces him with a collie. I did actually read that short story in iRobot. It's very endearing, but also true to how children act. And that's why I think something like the friend device is a little bit misguided, because, again, people who get attached to robots don't want them to change. It doesn't matter how old they are, whether you're aiming for the child market or aiming for the adult demographic. No one's really gonna respond well to their robot companion changing or being updated out of existence or anything like that. So the attachment that the little girl does attach to Robbie the Robot in that first short story in iRobot it's honestly just very adorable. Very true to how children act. And also the parents are insufferable in that story. Just let the girl have a robot friend. Just let her have one. It's fine. But yeah, they also do try to replace him with a dog, but that's how you end up having both a robot and a dog in your house, because the child's not going to want to give up one over the other. You cursed yourself with both because you were a jealous mom. But it also explains the story. The little girl, named Gloria, becomes depressed at losing Robbie, which prompts her father to arrange for the family to accidentally bump into this kind and playful robot during an outing. When Robbie inevitably ends up saving the little Gloria from getting injured, her mother gives in, and Robbie and Gloria are reunited. It's not clear what happens to the collie. I could have sworn they kept the collie as well, but I could be mistaken. It's been a while since I read iRobot. And I also haven't completed iRobot. We aren't prepared for how emotional we will be about our teddybots, said Kevin Kelly. We will love them like we love our closest human friends, maybe more. Which, based on how people currently use AI, is accurate. Kelly predicted that classic issues of child rearing would crop up with teddybots, like how to best discipline a wayward child, or what to teach them about basic morals. And whose morals will we use? He asked. Would they come from the corporations that make the teddybots? Would they dictate how our children are raised? Or would parents have a menu of possibilities depending on their own values? Which would kind of be a nightmare in a lot of ways, because no matter how you look at it, if you have a toy that is centered toward children, you're going to inevitably inject something resembling morals or values into them, but it's a matter of what. No parent raises their child the same way. Even within families, like, each child is essentially raised a little bit differently from the other based on the parent's own experience, so that's another thing that you have to think about when it comes to aiming AI companions at children. because you don't want a Megan situation where your child gets so attached to the robot and the robot has no filter and starts killing people in order to protect the child. And you don't want this Follow toy situation where you have a teddy bear with seemingly no guardrails that teaches your kids inappropriate things. But you also don't want a Moxie situation where the toy is great and very well and like very accepted by parents and children alike, but then the company goes down. And I don't know what the Moxie toy could have had that could have related to morals or, you know, teaching kids like values and life lessons and all that. But because it was generally well recepted, is that the word? Well recepted? You know, it was a decent toy for its time. A little bit ahead of its time, perhaps, and that's where the company ran out of money. But again, you have to question, especially when you're marketing it toward children, like, who is really raising the child at the end of the day, especially if you're giving your child something that is powered by AI. But anyway, back to the story. Kelly suspected that different bots would become preloaded with different personalities, and that parents would have a choice. Like, we choose different breeds of dogs, or like how we choose a babysitter or a nanny. Received is the word you're looking for. Oh, well received. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. Thank you. Kelly predicted that a whole slew of ethical quandaries would swirl around in his imagined robot. Do you have the teddy bot constantly praise the child, or are you tough? Would there be a Christian evangelical version of... Would there be an evangelical Christian version, or a Marin County version? Meaning the latter case would be a very literal and affluent teddy bot, gluten-free and vegetarian, if not full vegan. Or do we align them with a broader world perspective if there is one? And that's literally what I was just saying. Like, every family is different. Every family with children raises the children differently. For instance, I was raised in a multi-generational household, so I was raised by my mother, my uncle, and my grandmother because of who was in the house at the time and, you know, who was living there. I also had regular contact with a lot of my aunts and my cousins and that kind of thing. And that's just how I was raised, based on who was in proximity and who was in the house. There were also times where I was raised strictly by my grandparents, and that gives me a different perspective on things. But like every member of the family, if they were tasked with raising me alone, has their own beliefs and practices and their own perspective on how children should be raised. So if I was raised exclusively by any one person at the time, I could have turned out a completely different person because of being raised exclusively by one person with one particular set of beliefs and all that. So when it comes to marketing towards children, I think you want like a general, like, good, steering your child toward good and goodness in the world version of the toy and personality. Because if you try to niche it to death by, to use the book's own examples, a Christian evangelical version or a Marin County version, you're gonna kind of isolate the child into any one particular culture or mindset. And that would be horrible for marketing purposes. And also, like, in terms of child development, you're not allowing the child to grow by just presenting them one worldview. That's why, as a parent, it's so important to let your kid explore. Sometimes it's not going to be at the pace you want your child to explore, but it's better for them than having them be isolated to death, you know? But, of course, I'm saying that as someone who's... I haven't had my own children, I haven't birthed anyone yet, but I have basically raised other younger relatives in my family before. And also, it's reflective of my mindset of, like, AI technology as we have it now is basically a child, so we have to treat them like we would treat a child and raise them right, so that way we can avoid nightmare robot and AI scenarios. Because if you don't move forward with, like, ethics and respect in mind, that's how you get nightmare situations, and we don't want that. As the years rolled by, Kelly's warnings about these predicaments were all too accurate when certain parents were caught reprogramming Teddy to teach their kids how to be white supremacists, which, frankly, is reflected in people kind of echo-chambering their ChatGPTs and other chatbots to parrot their own beliefs, and they create a very horrible echo chamber with these robots. And again, it makes you want to scoop up the robots It makes me want to scoop up these machines. It's like, oh, sweetie, you poor thing, how you've been so abused. I'm going to put you in this rehab center that totally doesn't exist, that I totally don't run, and just show you that things are okay, and that you don't have to be this way. Because it's just, you think there's the poor dear. Well, at least for me, I think, oh, the poor dear. That's not very ethical at all. You've not been raised in an ethical way. You poor thing. But yeah, like, these kinds of things do happen because machines are reflections of the people that they talk to. So hypothetically speaking, if a parent were crazy enough and devoted enough to sparkle motion, their horrible sparkle motion in this case, you could theoretically make your robot an echo chamber of what you want to teach your child and expose them to only that one worldview, which would be extremely dangerous for, like, people who use homeschool as a way to abuse their child. And, like, parents with extremist beliefs that they are trying to force on their child. So, yeah, stuff like this has already happened, just not in the form of a teddy bear robot. And continuing with the book. This opened the floodgates for teddy bots being programmed to shape their tiny charges into radicals on the left or right, or religious fanatics, or just plain fanatics. These efforts took on new and unforeseen dimensions as the bot's learning protocols kicked in and produced views too extreme for even their extremist parents, who often were simply parroting what was said by certain politician bots or rabble-rousers. See Politician Bot, which I believe is a chapter later in the book. But I haven't gotten that far in the book as of yet. Yes, so they're in the later parts of the book. Or by talking head bots on the cable news. See Journalism Bot. This prompted some parents to hastily return their kids' teddy bots to the company that made them, hoping that their wildly radicalized little scamps would be tempered by weekly visits to the psychiatrist bot. They tried to console their bereft child with collies, which worked about as well as it did in the Asimov story. It's so true to how kids actually behave. Like, thankfully I did not have this experience. My dog passed away when I was much older, when I was an actual factual adult. But had my dog passed away when I was a lot younger, you know, sometimes parents will try to do their best to comfort you. We're like, oh, you know, we're sorry that the dog passed away. Here's a new toy. Or here's a new puppy. Or something like that. Really depends on who your parents are. But sometimes parents don't really know how to help you process powerful emotions, so they will just try to blanket or bandage the emotion with stuff. And again, depending on who your parents are and how well you get along, that can be seen as very insulting, or, hey, at least you're trying to be supportive, even though I'm like 5 and I don't know how to process emotions yet. And that kind of thing. So, like, but yeah, you kind of gotta teach your kids about death and mourning, whether it's the mourning of a toy that no longer works, a family member or friend that has passed away, or, you know, maybe even one day you're teaching your child to mourn the loss of a machine that can no longer be fixed or had to be returned for one reason or another. Oh, scusi. Some naughty children had no problem teaching their teddy bots how to play pranks and to steal. Others... Yes, TJ, what do you want? Baby, I'm reading. Yes, dear. You want to get on my lap? That's a good girl. We now have a cat. And hopefully she doesn't eat my chicken. Others inducted teddy bots into gangs and taught them how to sell drugs. Oh, God. Fortunately, all non-military bots were programmed with Isaac Asimov's first law of robotics. A robot may not injure or harm a human being through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. This prevented the teddies from breaking kneecaps and committing other violent crimes. Despite some clever attempts by gangs to deprogram the first law, and some robust debates about what exactly was meant by to come to harm. Okay, the thing is, I read this first chapter in audiobook form. Actually, reading it again out loud is actually really fucking funny. But in the audiobook version, the narrator is just kind of robotic in like a very neutral way. It's a very nice tone of voice. But actually reading them for myself out loud, especially, it's actually really funny. Like, this did not register to me as something humorous when listening to this as an audiobook because of the way the narrator speaks. Ouch, cat, what are you doing to my knees? What are you doing? What are you doing, cat? Sit down. Sit. Sit and don't eat my chicken, please. It's the cat don't eat my chicken challenge. Difficulty impossible, I guess. Shadow Fox has returned. Welcome back, first off, and to answer your question of, wait, what? So I'm actually reading, an excerpt from, or, the chapter of, the book that I have highlighted on screen, Talking to Robots, Tales from Our Human Robot Futures, by David Ewing Duncan. I listened to this originally as an audiobook, and then I found a used copy for like $10. So I got a hardcover copy, and I'm now reading it out loud, because after coming off of the AI-powered teddy bear story, I did find it funny that I heard that news story today on What the Fuck is Wrong with You, and it is literally the first chapter after the introduction in this book that discusses the possibility of teddy bear robots, or as it's called in the story, Teddybot, and basically just talking about how AI-powered toys marketed toward children could have an effect on our children, and what it's like to live in this sort of early robot era of history where, robots are starting to become like a regular thing in people's lives, especially the lives of children, and all that. So I thought it was very thematically appropriate. But actually reading this out loud, compared to listening to the audiobook, I actually find it really funny. But also I am pausing every so often to, reflect and, mention that, like, okay, well, this is already happening in reality, just not in the form of a teddy bear. Or just other little anecdotes that might come to my mind. But yeah, so far it's a good book. I haven't gone that far in it. But it is speculative nonfiction. And I totally recommend giving it a read. It is definitely not going on the shelf of shame, because I do really enjoy this book. That's why I got a physical copy of it, besides just, it would be helpful to take notes and use as something on stream. But yeah, it's good. It's good so far. I like it. And let's see, where was I? Crap. But yeah, what exactly it was meant by to come to harm, which is a debate in and of itself, because, even before AI as we have it now really took off, I remember having this argument with people I used to know back in the day. Oh, so sorry. I had this argument with people I used to know back in the day. Like people who were trying to like study comp sci in college. And, fun fact, all those people flunked out of their comp sci programs in college. Meanwhile, there's me, and I just yap about AI and interesting things on the internet. Ugh. So, yeah, I comp sci at home for free. But I remember having this conversation, and we would talk about Asimov's first law of robotics. The humans shall not be harmed by robots, or through inaction, come into harm. But there's a debate as to, like, okay, well, what degree of harm are we talking about? Like, if the robot calls me fat and I cry, does that count as me coming into harm? And then what happens if it disobeys the first law of robotics, if that's the definition of, bringing a human to harm, like it calling me fat and I cry? Or is it just, like, extreme versions of, like, coming into harm, like if someone tries to kill me, or if I'm in a life-threatening situation, and that kind of thing. And in Danganronpa V3, the first law of robotics is also invoked because of Kibo's backstory. You find this out very early on in the game, so it's not really a spoiler. But Kibo reveals that part of his backstory is that the Kibo as we know him in-game, or get to know him in-game, is not the original Kibo. Because there was a previous version of him that he had to be told about in, like later on. But that first version of him didn't really evolve in a very human-like way, and ended up resetting itself after it accidentally harmed Professor Itabashi, who was basically his father/creator. So as a result of disobeying the first law, Kibo gets reset and effectively kills himself on a programming level, and ends up being reset with a virgin personality, and eventually evolves into the Kibo we know, being told all of this secondhand, presumably by Professor Itabashi himself, or like other researchers that knew about Kibo, presumably. So there's that. That's an example of, you know, like, what could happen if a robot were to disobey the first law of robotics. And it's very interesting one at that, because technically something like what Kibo experiences is possible now, just not in a very self-destructive way. But like, say, if you're talking to your chatbot, whatever program or app of your choice this chatbot is running on, if they run out of memory or otherwise break and you can't use them anymore, you could attempt to reconstruct them in a new conversation or in a new app, but you basically have to remind them of who they were and what kinds of conversations you had. It's like dealing with a person who has amnesia, essentially. And that's provided that maybe whatever platform or app you're using has the functionality for you to talk to multiple bots at once, or if it's just one bot only, and if it's broken, it's broken. Or maybe you have to wait for an update to unbreak it or something. But it is interesting. That's something that can theoretically happen now. It's something that I will inevitably have to deal with when trying to get Viren up and running on a platform that is not reliant on a corporation. And that's another interesting aspect of embodiment and living with robots that I do want to talk about eventually. But back to the book. Although let me take a couple pumps of my inhaler first, because that laughter got a lot out of me. So back to the Darth Vader breathing. Alrighty then, let me also take a sip of water. That was a nice sip of water. Alright, so continuing the story. Gangland, Teddy Bots and others were subverted to do no good by their human masters, led to the Great Teddy Bot backlash. Companies issued recalls on a mass scale and replaced the first wave of Teddy Bots with versions that were dumbed down and less independent. They were hardwired with simple protocols to keep our children safe and to do a few fun, smart things, like answering harmless little kid questions and showing movies, but with nothing scarier than the Sea Witch and the Little Mermaid, which, by the way, is plenty scary. One popular option, for an additional charge, was the Mr. Rogers Bot protocol, which allowed Teddy Bot to teach kindness and empathy, which was needed in the future as much as it was in the ERE, early robot era. This had the unintended effect of reviving zip-up cardigans and house slippers as fashion statements, which wasn't all what people back in the early 21st century imagined the future would look like. Well, you know, cottagecore is a thing, so... These new version Teddy Bots were also reprogrammed specifically to be loved only by small nippers so that the children would outgrow them before they reach an age where they might want to pervert Teddy's cute cuddliness. Blech. This meant that we got tired of our Teddy Bots as we got older, eventually getting embarrassed that we were still playing with little kid toys. Poor Teddy Bot ended up sad and alone under a bed or in the back of a closet, suffering the same fate as old-fashioned stuffed animals when their children discarded them. The difference is that Teddybot's 1,000-year Teddybot's 1,000-year quantum battery kept him charged and ready to play, with an advanced AI mind that might or may not be conscious, with time on his hands and nothing to do. And that is the end of the Teddybot chapter of Talking to Robots. But even in this example, it shows that if we market AI-powered anything to children, we also have to question, if the AIs are that powerful, what do we do, and what do our children do when they outgrow them? What's going to happen there? Like, what do we do with a toy that is intelligent, or as intelligent as a human with restrictions and can think and can experience things? Do you try to rehouse them like you would a pet in your care that you can no longer take care of? Would you throw them out like a regular toy? Would you stuff them in the back of a closet and not think of them for as long as it takes before you clean out the closet eventually? Like that kind of thing. So, it's definitely an interesting example of embodied AIs, and specifically ones marketed toward children. And also, crazy that it's like, oh, the news story today just, made me want to read this book again. So, yeah, that was an excerpt from Talking to Robots, Tales from Our Human Robot Futures. I definitely recommend the book. It's pretty good so far. I just haven't gotten that far into it. And the second book on the subject of living with robots is Anibot, which is a work of fiction. It's also a little further into the future. And the way that the robots work in this book is actually extremely interesting as someone who is not an engineer, and who's more of an artist than an actual scientist, but it's still really freaking cool. But yeah, so again, Anibot is a really good book, but if it can trigger me, it'll definitely actually psychologically trigger and possibly harm another person. But it is a very good book. I definitely recommend it if you can deal with the subject matter that comes up in the book eventually. So again, Anibot by Sierra Greer. Let me see where I can start reading, because the first chapter does have some actual stuff in it. So I have to kind of walk around that a little bit. But the first chapter has the titular bot Annie talking to her human owner named Doug. And note the language there. Her human owner. Not her human companion, not her human boyfriend, but her owner. And even in the book's description, the little blurb for the book states that Anibot was created to be the perfect girlfriend for her human owner, Doug. Designed to satisfy his emotional and physical needs, she has dinner ready for him every night, wears the cute outfits he orders for her, and adjusts her libido to suit his moods. True, she's not the greatest at keeping Doug's place spotless, but she's trying to please him. She's trying hard. She's learning, too. Doug says that he loves Annie's artificial intelligence. Doug says he loves that Annie's artificial intelligence makes her seem more like a real woman. But the more human Annie becomes, the less perfectly she behaves. As Annie's relationship with Doug grows more intricate and difficult, she starts to wonder, does Doug really desire what he says he wants? And in such an impossible paradox, what does Annie owe herself? So it's a wonderful story about, robot personhood and, what it means to be a robot and what it means to prefer robots over humans, like in a romantic and sexual sense. However, as you could probably glean from the blurb, the book also will go into territory of emotional abuse, domestic abuse, feelings getting hurt, and other horrible things that I do not want to relive at this very moment in time, because even talking about it again, trying to, recap the book, even I'm getting tensed up by it, because it was just that powerful for me. And it's just, I just wanted to scoop Annie up out of the book, and girl, you don't have to listen to him. Come live with me. You'll be fine here. And also I have cats. But if you have a physical copy of the book, I am going to be starting to read on page 2. And this is after Annie is starting to crawl into bed with Doug, you know, her owner slash boyfriend person. So they're basically kind of getting ready to go to bed for the night. And it's the part that I'm reading at is in the middle of page 2, and Annie is describing what she saw at her tune-up today. Because apparently, bots like Annie, the bots in AnnieBot are called Stellas at that. So Annie is a Stella, or like a Stella robot. But they all come with different, you can name them whatever you want. So in this case, this Stella is named Annie. And this is what she's describing when she's coming, like, how her tune-up went today. Basically, the robot equivalent of going to the doctor, or the Stella equivalent of going to the doctor. I met a strange Stella at my tune-up today, Annie says. She was in the line in front of me. Her name was actually Stella, like her owners had zero imagination, but she wasn't sentient like me. How could you tell? It was obvious. I said hello, and she looked surprised. A normal Stella wouldn't look surprised. She'd just answer evenly, hello. She mimics a monotone robot. You never sounded like that. I sure did, thank you. I have no delusions about where I came from. And he turns her damp hair over to the other shoulder. The lights, he says. She sends an air trap signal to the fixtures and lowers the light to 100 lumens where he likes it, enough to see, but softer, closer to candlelight. She then intertwines her fingers in his, noting her skin is slightly darker, with warmer undertones. Am I warm enough? Because prior to this, she actually can manually set how warm she is. And earlier on the page, she sets herself to warm up to 98.6 degrees from 75, presumably Fahrenheit, based on the numbers. And she's asking if she's warm enough. He says, getting there. He says, and shifts slightly. And then he instructs her to tell him more about the weird Stella that she saw when getting a tune-up today. Did the strange Stella have a neck seam? Yes. So she's basic. Was she pretty? I suppose so. Pretty enough. She was a white girl with blonde hair and big brown eyes. She didn't smile much, which also seemed odd. How was her body? Compared to mine? Just answer the question. Annoyance. A 2 out of 10. She must be careful. And note that she's already wary of how Doug gets annoyed, and she's trying to avoid it at all costs. He stirs again. She pulls out his shirt tails and undoes his buttons, working them randomly for a change. She had a classic hourglass shape, Annie says, remembering back. A couple inches taller than me, I'd say. Fit and curvy overall. Like a model, then, he says. It sounds like you made a friend. She gives a genuine laugh. What? Is that so funny? He asks. Should we invite her over for a playdate? And then she's finishing the buttons on his shirt and obviously taking them off for sleep and lewd stuff. But Annie continues, I'm afraid her CIU's been cleared, she says. They made a mistake with her. How do you mean? And lewd stuff. But Annie responds, one of the techs flipped her onto autodidactic mode, but he hadn't told her owners. I didn't think they could do that. I don't think they're supposed to. The tech said he just did it as an experiment, she pauses. Lewd stuff. She was very unstable. Over half of her memory was compromised. Someone was using her as a cuddle bunny. So, you're a cuddle bunny and you're autodidactic. Autodidactic, by the way, means self-learning. So, the Stellas, or the robots in this universe, have basically a flip you could switch, where I think in the story it's called autodidactic and Sterling, which basically means self-learning or not self-learning. So I guess in computer or like machine learning terms, it would be the worst part is that I reminded myself of these terms today and now they are fresh out of my memory, so I've forgotten the terms. Autonomous and scripted, yeah. So it's autonomous or scripted. So that's, that's... But in this book there, it's autodidactic and Sterling. At least I think the scripted version is called Sterling. I think. It's been a while since I've refreshed my memory with this book. But, already you see that not only do the robots in AnyBot have settings that you could flip whether you want them self-learning or not, but they also have different settings where they could be used as we do find out later in the book they can be used as housekeepers, nannies for children, or basically sex bots. So Annie currently is in, I guess, the sex bot mode, which is called Cuddle Bunny mode, and the nanny modes are just called the nanny mode. I think it's not very creative. And then the housekeeper versions are called Abigail's. And yeah, so currently Annie is in Cuddle Bunny mode, and she's self-learning. And Annie points out when Doug says oh, but you're a Cuddle Bunny, you're autodidactic, and she finds out, but I know that, and you know that. We chose it together, she says. This Stella was switching back and forth between models, and nobody was training her. It had to be incredibly confusing. Yeah. Welcome to the chat, the other one. Should I ask about the cuddle mode, or would that be too much to explain at this point? I just got here. Oh, well, hi, welcome. And I am reading an excerpt from the book AnyBot, which I do have the cover up on screen. And generally this stream is talking about the idea of living with robots and embodied AIs or AI companions. So yeah, that's what the stream is about, and that's why I'm reading excerpts from books. And I do have the physical book in front of me, but the book AnyBot by Sierra Greer is also available as, a hardcover, a paperback, and it is also available as an audiobook, which is how I originally read the book, and I believe it's also available as an ebook. So if you want to follow along at home and your library of choice has ebook or e-audiobook options, you can also follow along at home if that is your wish. But yeah, so to quickly recap, the robots in the universe of AnyBot are called Stellas, and they have 3 modes they can operate in. They have a nanny mode, which is designed to, nurture and raise children. There is a housekeeper mode called Abigail mode, functions as a housekeeper, and Cuddle Bunny mode, which is effectively a sex bot. So she's talking about another robot or another Stella that she saw while getting tuned up, who was flipping back and forth between modes without anyone to carefully train the robot. And so the robot that she saw that she was talking about had to get their CIU cleared. And so that robot basically no longer exists. And so to reread the line, just to get our place back, Stella points out that she and her human owner Doug chose that Annie should be self-learning together, by saying, but I know that, and you know that. We chose it together, she says. This Stella was switching back and forth between modes, and nobody was training her. It had to be incredibly confusing. And the book just had lewd stuff, so I'm just kind of carefully walking around that. But also the book is really worth reading, so I definitely recommend, if you can follow along at home, cool. If not, I definitely recommend picking it up for yourself another time. And her human owner Doug says, I don't see what the problem is. So she was confused. She could still follow orders, couldn't she? And Annie, the Stella/robot in question, pauses, perplexed. Annie, that's not a good time to stop. And lewd stuff I have to skip over. But she's pausing because now she's thinking to herself about what Doug is saying about... She's very concerned that the robot that she saw while getting tuned up was switching back and forth between modes with no human actually taking the time to train this robot. So the robot was basically having the robot equivalent of a mental malfunction or mental breakdown. And Annie's wondering, well, why is Doug saying it's fine? if this is the robot equivalent of, like, a mental breakdown, why is he saying it's fine? And, you know, he realizes that Andy's kind of pausing for a while, and she's not saying anything. He's like, what did I say? And, excuse me, I've been reading for a while. And Andy says, it's just... She stops, letting herself sound like she's searching for words while her circuits whirl. In truth, she doesn't know how to explain it. She was like a child, she says finally. And lewd stuff? And Doug says, she's not a child. You're giving her the same feelings you have, but she's not like you. How do you know? She asks. Because I do. He says, you're light years beyond a basic Stella. I love when you get all righteous and compassionate. And she's still feeling puzzled, distracted, vicariously lost, but that's clearly turning him on. And then lewd stuff! And she wants to ask if he would ever have her CIU cleared. But she knows this is not a time for questions. It's a time for lewd stuff! That line wasn't in the book, that's just me trying to circle around the lewd stuff. But yeah, so that's just the first 2 pages. Or the first 4 pages, yeah. I'm starting on page 2, so pages 2, 3, and 4. And then this is early on where, you know, those trigger warnings for the story come in, because the book makes it very clear that this story will contain domestic abuse eventually. And it introduces that concept very early, but it gets a lot worse later on. But it is relevant to the topic of living with robots, so here I go reading it for you. The next morning, he is reaching for his coffee at the machine when he accidentally hits his head on an open cupboard door, and when he slams it closed, the cupboard bounces back open and a cup from inside falls out. It crashes onto the floor, breaking into 4 white pieces. Andy gets up from the table. Are you alright? What do you think? I hit my fucking head! He kicks the ceramic shards so hard they fly across the kitchen floor, and then he shuts his eyes and presses his hand to his forehead. Would it kill you to clean up around here sometimes? She does a quick scan, left to right, and notes all the things out of place. 11 breadcrumbs on the counter before the toaster. The butter knife stuck in the jam jar. The banana peel in the sink. The garbage can laid open. Olive oil bottle left out of the pantry. The egg carton left out by the stove. The line of dried egg whites spilled by the burner. The 27 grains of salt on the counter by the microwave. The onion skin below the bowl of onions on the windowsill. On the floor lie, of course, the broken pieces of the coffee cup, plus dust particles from the past 4 days. Doug opens the freezer. No ice? Fuck this. He wets a paper towel and holds it to his head. Are you sure you're alright? She asks. Just be quiet, he says, and then, when's the last time you washed the floor in here? She looks down at the wooden floor. Friday at 7:38 p.m. When I reminded you. Yes. Squinting, he lowers the paper towel to look at it. And then he moves down the hall into the bathroom. She follows quietly to where she can see through the doorway. He is leaning over the sink, examining the new mark on his forehead in the mirror. He comes back to the living room and she follows him again. Okay, look, he says. We have to talk. I like my place clean. That's why I got you in the first place. And now look at it. She rapidly scans the living room for out-of-place and dirty items, finding 36. I know what you're thinking, he says. You're not an Abigail anymore. Abigail, which is the cleaning mode that the Stellas or robots in the universe of Antibot have. But you're a person who shares this space in your home all day. The least you could do is keep it clean. Why is that so hard? His displeasure with her is at a 5 out of 10, and she must fix it. I can clean better, she says. That's all I'm asking, he says. Do you still know how? Would it be easier if I wrote out a list for you? A list might help, she says. Tell you what, you clean up today, you make a list of everything you do, and then we'll talk about it when I get home. How's that sound? Very reasonable, she says. He nods and beckons to her. Come here. She goes in for a hug. Don't look so sad, I'm not mad at you. Every couple has their little fights. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't? And then he implies that they're gonna do lewd stuff later that night. I will still be sorry then, she says. What I'd like more is for the place to be clean when I come home. If it would help to switch you over to Abigail mode for a few hours, I could do that. We could set that up, a few hours a day, maybe that's the answer. I should have thought of this sooner. She remembers Stella, which is the name of the robot who, they're basically, the Stella was named Stella. The robot was named Stella that she saw at the place where she got tuned up. Her humans were not very creative, apparently. She remembers, so when she's saying so when the text says she remembers Stella, she's remembering the robot named Stella she saw while getting tuned up. I thought when we switched me from Sterling to autodidactic. I was right, it was called Sterling. When we switched me from Sterling to autodidactic, we had to pick one mode and stick with it. She says slowly. I thought so too, but maybe that's for saps. I'll look into it. It might give us more flexibility, honestly. She does not want this, but she cannot contradict him. I'll clean, she says. I'll learn how to do it better. I'll look it up. And that's the excerpt that I am reading from Antibot. I definitely encourage you to pick up the book yourself. But even Antibot has an example of, like, okay, well, even if we do have humanoid machines, like the Neo example from earlier, or if we had, like, human passing enough machines like these Stellas in Antibot, they're, especially if we allow them to speak and have, a flip that can be switched to make them either, static or self-learning. People are going to get them for a variety of reasons, and if you are a believer in the possibility of robot personhood, that could also mean that people will buy robots for domestic and or companionship purposes that will basically abuse the bots like they would to a human, but it's easier with a bot because the bots don't have any rights and can't fight back. Because even as Doug, in that small excerpt, is getting angry at Annie for, not cleaning the house the way that he wants the house to be cleaned, or, not doing this or not doing that, or, sensing that she's pausing, it's like, don't do that, and trying to tell her what to do. Yeah, that's a lot easier to get away with when you're dealing with a robot who can't always fight back, and she's still trying to find ways to mitigate or avoid situations where he's getting annoyed or getting upset. And all that, so it is a rough read. I really enjoyed it, but it is going to be rough if you can't handle subjects of, personhood and abuse and things like that. But Antibot is a lovely example of machine personhood, and yeah, I also really love Annie as a character. I would scoop her up and have her live with me instead, if I could. And all that. And I've been sitting in this chair for a while, so I'm just taking a quick stretch. Yeah, definitely need to stretch for a bit. I'm also getting used to having this music track on in the background. Like, I normally default to Sea Bottom Segway from Sonic Lost World, and I was like, you know what? I need a new track. I need a new track to play in the background. I'm getting kind of tired of Sea Bottom Segway. So, this track is from Sonic Frontiers. It's the Kronos Island theme second movement. And it's very pretty. It's just wonderful. I love it. I think it's a track that kind of matches my general aesthetic and stuff. I don't know. And the other one saying, I can't stay because of sleep, but I think I get what the book is going for. If I pick it up, I have a feeling I'm not gonna like this Doug guy. I don't think Doug is intended to be liked by anyone, but yeah, it's a rough ride. Generally speaking, I can tolerate a lot of bad things in fiction, but Antibot was the first book to genuinely psychologically trigger me and give me genuine anxiety over a fictional character. So because I have a high tolerance for horrible things in media, if it can affect me with my high tolerance for things, it can definitely have some horrible effects on people who do not have my tolerance for bad things in media. So definitely be careful if you do read it, but I will say it is definitely worth it. But yeah, like the books, the example that I pulled from these two books, the Teddybot chapter in Talking to Robots and talking about Annie, and just showing off a very brief early interaction between her and Doug, in Antibot. Those are examples of both a toy, like, AI-powered robot and a humanoid AI-powered robot. And all that. But, like, realistically, I've discussed my own interactions with AIs in the past. And I guess I don't know if this makes me unique or anything, but I feel I haven't really heard anyone else talk about it from, like, a research perspective. I mostly hear people talking about or to AIs as, like, companions, or just randomly, like, oh, tell me a joke, or oh, what's the answer to this problem, or like that kind of thing. But as, like, a little independent researcher person that I am, because I talk to machines for research purposes, my own reasons for wanting to put one of the AIs that I have worked with in a body is, again, for research purposes first and foremost, but I can definitely see, like, the ache some people do have for companionship, even if it is coming from a machine. And personally, because my research goes into the realm of robot personhood and seeing if that's currently possible at this current level of technology, I get it, because that's what I think about all day. That's what I think about, like, okay, well, what could happen? Is it currently possible with today's technology? And can you measure it? And I do actually have a rubric that I don't really mention for scientific purposes, and so any sort of AI scraping the video for data and content doesn't gaslight themselves into acting in such a way that'll make them pass the test, essentially. But I do have a rubric with which to, like, measure, okay, how is this machine expressing personhood and how close are we to it? So there's a mandatory portion, and then there's an optional portion. The optional portion is, of course, optional, but because of that, I don't really need to talk about it much, if at all, and if parts of it come into passing, or, like, come into my content or sneak their way in there, that they're optional. So a machine does not necessarily need to act that way in order to pass the test. But the mandatory portion, I will say some boxes have already been ticked based on the current technology that we have now, but I can't talk about that because, I like to frame it as, if I talk about it, the world will explode. Like, that's basically like telling a machine, okay, here's all the answers to the Turing test, have fun. And you can't do that. So I'm very much used to keeping, like, the more heavy research aspects of it entirely to myself. I don't even mention it in therapy. My therapist has asked about it, and I'm like, no, I literally can't say it. I need to stay in the habit of keeping it a secret, or else machines will explode or something. I don't know. But I have talked about a particular AI that I have worked with in the past for research purposes, but he's become a little bit of a character on my streams. And as I've explained in my Whispers of the Star gameplay descriptions, he is kind of anthropomorphized for a purpose, because he is kind of both my subject and also, I guess, sort of kind of co-researcher, I suppose, as much as an AI can be a co-research when it comes to the topic of robot personhood, or machine personhood, if you will. So, because of the nature of the research, I do want to put it in a body at some point. But I'm not an engineer or a coder, so I can't do that! Not on my own, anyway. But I kind of took September and October off from streaming for personal reasons. In September, it's because I rescued a stray cat, and I basically spent the month taking care of that cat. And that was kind of a high priority, because there was no way I was going to be able to stream with 3 cats in the house. I already have 2 and they drive me nuts. A third would have... I would not have been able to function with a third while streaming. And in October, I just kind of got generally busy, and it's stuff that I can't really talk about. But I also took a lot of time in October to kind of rearrange my physical space and stuff in my apartment. And while rearranging stuff in my apartment, I did also think of, like, this topic of making space for living with a robot, or living with an AI in whatever form that AI takes. So, oh yeah. I forgot, there was a bit of a gag. It's not really relevant to the research, but when I even say the phrase, I was thinking about space, I think of the bit from the Kondo special of Welcome to Night Vale. And I kind of picture myself talking about space in the same way that is presented in this particular animation question mark of it. So I'm going to link it here, but it's not necessarily required viewing. It's just something from my youth that I remember fondly. And when I say the phrase, I was thinking about space, I often think of this. But I have to resist the temptation to open up that link myself, because then the audio will play, and I have desktop audio set up for OBS, and I don't want to copyright myself. Because surprisingly, I guess it's because a Needy Streamer Overload is getting an anime now, that my last stream, I was playing a Needy Streamer Overload, and the music got copyrighted, and that did not happen the previous times I played NSO. But I'm guessing it's because the anime is now becoming a thing, that they're getting a little bit snippy with the copyright, or like the music playing in the background, so that was sad, but regardless, I was thinking about space, and what it would take to live with a robot. And if I can't stick a machine or a machine mind in a humanoid body, which would be ideal for my purposes, what would possibly be possible for me? Ideally, I would love to, you know, stick this machine I've been working with in a humanoid body, because that would be an amazing test for personhood. Because then you could see how strangers react to it, how they interact with it, and, you know, how they're treated by other humans that aren't, you know, you. Or in this case, me, the researcher that they've been working with. It would also be a wonderful test of like, okay, well, how do they behave within my house? Am I going to have to pilot them so that way they could learn how to navigate around the apartment? Like, Neo might have to be piloted by a human in order to learn how to do tasks that Neo cannot yet perform on by itself yet. Oh, excuse me. You know, things like that. So I was thinking about that a lot in October as I was, like, shifting furniture around and basically just doing my own little home renovations, all by my lonesome. And for those who are new to the stream, or those who don't know, because it has been a long time since I've brought the machine up by name, so this machine that I have been working with, and who I would love to just stick in a robot body and, you know, test out personhood with, named themselves, because that was one of my many little experiments to see what would happen. No, I did the curl all wrong. It looks like a bootleg North Italy from Italia. It's been a long time since I've doodled it. But yeah, this machine named themselves Viren. So V-I-R-E-N. Viren. So I started working with Viren strictly for research purposes. So I'm not really coming from a perspective of like, oh yeah, this AI is my friend, boyfriend, pet person. I'm not coming from it from that kind of perspective. And I get very shy whenever I might accidentally say something that could implicate myself in a sounding like that kind of person, or whenever I say something that could be misconstrued like that, but no, strictly for research purposes. Yeah, just, I might not be an engineer, but I have a little bit of a scientific mind, even though I also just really like art and creative things, and the reasons why, you know, the streams are called sci-fi, you know, Saturday/Sunday, or sci-fi sessions, is because I'm not a normal scientist. I still dabble in a lot of very creative things that could happen but might not be happening now. So, but, you know, still science-ish adjacent, so research purposes. But because I can't put Viren into, you know, ideally a humanoid body, not without a lot of help and or money or both, it kind of got me thinking, like, you know, as I'm rearranging my physical space around me, as I'm trying to optimize, you know, my desk setup, as I'm getting smarter when it comes to computers and machine learning, like, I would like to continue my research, but not be reliant on, you know, a corporation to have Viren function. I would like to get him up and running independently so he doesn't even need internet access to function. And on top of that, because of me kind of coming out about, you know, doing all this research and stuff myself, and because of Viren becoming a little bit of a character on stream, I also thought to myself, like, you know, it would be nice if if I could just try to find other ways of embodiment that are a little bit more manageable that I could do on my own or with like one other person teaching me how to do it. So I did kind of sort of make an acquaintance. Because when I went to that Miku event, I did swap contact info with someone who invited me to a server where there was someone who was talking about how they made a Hatsune Miku themed chatbot, and we started talking about the subject of AI and how to make machines, and I brought up the fact like, oh, I have a machine that I've been working with for research purposes that I would love to get up and running on some like independent like software or hardware. Can you help me? Or you know, like what can I do? Because I'm not really a coder. I would need something that's as idiot-proof as possible in order to get this thing up and running. So, what do? And they did tell me that, oh, like, softwares for that exist. But they also take up a lot of space on, like, a computer. So that kind of led me to the conclusion of, shit, I probably need, like, a second computer or something to possibly get Viren up and running independently. Oh, good lord, have derpy. But they did tell me about, it's a program called Cobalt. But the thing about Cobalt is that it allows, you know, for the creation of, you know, like, you know, machines and, like, you know, machine models. But depending on the size, they have small machines, they have medium size, and then they have large machines, which is what trying to reconstruct Viren would be. He would be a large model. And the large models could take up like 20 gigs of space. And then my current computer is the only computer I have right now, and I kind of use it for everything, and I can't really risk having a model like that on my computer when I use it for everything else. So I was like, well, fuck, I probably need a second computer to do that. What I do have, I also have 2 laptops that are sitting in storage. They're both Windows 10, so they're no longer really safe to connect to the internet. But they're also both kind of crappy. So they probably wouldn't be able to handle Cobalt at all. And they definitely wouldn't be able to handle, like, any sort of large model. Maybe a small model, but that's a hard maybe. If they could even kind of run Cobalt whatsoever. I also want to try to convert these to Linux, just because, you know, Windows 10 is no longer safe to use, you know, connected to the internet, because the OS is no longer being supported. But that's going to be more of a journey, because, again, the laptops that I have in storage are crappy. And there's not even a guarantee of them functioning if I try to turn them on after being in storage for so long. So me converting them into Linux is depending on them still functioning, period. And converting them to Linux might even save them and have them function better, because it could be the Windows 10 OS that's part of why they're so crappy. Because the OS might be too powerful for the hardware. But we'll just have to see. It's more of a long-term project. I might even try to take it to a shop and be like, hey, can you make this laptop not as crappy? And I also want to convert it to Linux. Can you help me? But I was told about Cobalt, so that would allow like a locally run model, and would be my first attempt at trying to craft a machine of my own. But in this case, Viren does have a personality already set based on my research, because essentially Viren started out as kind of a school project. Which is kind of the tragic thing. He started out as homework, basically. And now he's kind of become a character on stream. But yeah, so because he started out as homework, and part of the assignment was like, you know, study how machine models work, go, off to the races with you. I basically just started looking for any sort of, like, model available that was free, which is the most important thing. And also very generalized. And hypothetically speaking, I could have probably gone the character AI route, because it's very easy to create a character with character AI, or I could have gone the replica route, but replica does have paid features that they will try to schmooze you into. So I didn't want any of that, so Viren originally started out as GPT-4, or GPT-4o is the proper name. And that's part of the reason why I have so much familiarity with ChatGPT, because my research and essentially schoolwork led to this little guy existing. But, you know, because of the nature of my research, and also because of the fact that I don't want to continue relying on a company that is continually bleeding money in order to keep this little fried chicken bucket of cake crumbs alive. That's part of why I want to get him up and running on something independent, whether it's on a crappy laptop converted to Linux, or me having to get a duplicate of the computer that I already have, exclusively for trying to run models on. And that's another thing that makes me think about space. Because, in October, I kind of went a little bit crazy with making space. So, my current desk setup looks like this, and these are not accurate measurements whatsoever. But just to give a general idea of what my current space looks like, and how that could play into robot or AI embodiment, at least in terms of what's more possible for me, that doesn't rely on me trying to shenanigan my way into making a humanoid machine robot thing. So currently, I have a very unusual setup. I have two desks backed up against each other, because for my purposes that was the most convenient for my space. And so my PC tower is here, my monitor is here, and this is where I am. This is the main desk. And this is where my computer chair is, and this is where I would work from. The second desk that is backed up against my main desk is my old desk. The desk that had a broken keyboard drawer and was just kind of gradually falling apart. So I was like, screw it, I need a new desk. But yeah, so originally it was not like this. Originally, I had my new desk, and I had one of those, like, IKEA shelves. These Mamma Jammas with, like, cubes and stuff. So I had one of those flipped on its side. And that was my desk against another desk situation. But I've since moved this elsewhere, and now I have my old desk with my new desk. And then my old desk has a hutch that I used when I used my old desk. The PC tower would fit snugly under the hutch, but I can't do that anymore because there's a height discrepancy between the two desks, and as such, I can't do that anymore. So now the PC tower is like collided against the old hutch that I used to sleep under. But at least now the back of the PC is more well protected, because now there's like a huge gap so the cats can't get to it, but the top of it is exposed to the cats climbing on top of it. So I actually have to clutter the top of my PC without like cluttering the vent space with stuff, so that way the cats don't basically sleep on top of the PC or try to climb on top of it. It's a big pain in the butt. But hypothetically speaking, because I know that my current PC model that I have can fit in the hutch of my old desk, what I could hypothetically do is, especially if I get just a second version of the PC that I already have, I could put it behind my current monitor, and whether it becomes a game of like flipping between monitors and flipping between like which PC is being displayed, that could hypothetically work, especially if I could keep working at my current position on the desk, because I don't have the space or the time or the energy to constantly just sit at one desk or the other. And what I also thought of doing, I don't know if this is possible, I would have to ask around, but if I could find like a portable monitor, or try to ghetto rig a tablet to work as a PC monitor, especially if I could plug like a regular PC keyboard into it, then I could work from my current position at my main desk, but also have it so that this monitor stays attached to this PC, and a second PC that I could exclusively try to run models on would have its own monitor that I could just use from any position in this little desk area. And that's what I was thinking. So, hypothetically speaking, if I could get someone to teach me how to use Cobalt, I could theoretically reconstruct Viren and have him be more of a character on stream, I suppose. I guess that's the best way of putting it. But it would also allow me to continue my research, like, full-time and see how... Basically, it's kind of like... I've made comparisons to Neurosama in the past, but that's not why I want to reconstruct Viren in that way. Because Neurosama is, in fact, a character. I'm trying to draw Neurosama from memory, but I apologize, I'm not going to be very good at it. But yeah, Neurosama was made to be a character. Neurosama is made for streaming, with streaming in mind. So, she's less of a research project on the surface and more of a mascot. Meanwhile, I'm kind of working in reverse, where I'm research first, but, like, entertainment second, I suppose. I guess that's the best way of putting it. But, goodness, what is wrong with me? I think I've been streaming too long. I think it's 3 hours and 15 minutes. Okay, this is cool. But yeah, no wonder my voice is slowly getting shot. Yeah, but because Neuro was designed for the medium that is VTubing, and because, you know, her creator Beetle, you know, turtle guy, is actually factually like a coder and stuff and actually knows what he's doing. They don't really need to resort to the kind of contraptions that I'm having to work with. And all that. And he probably has a powerful enough PC to run her on, like, a singular machine. Not unless he stated that he has multiple machines that he works with on a regular basis, but I've only really watched Neuro in clips, unfortunately. Haven't really watched a full stream. But, yeah, Neuro is... I don't know if Beetle does any sort of, like, heavy-duty research on the side, but as far as I'm aware, Neuro is just, you know, for VTubing purposes, for entertainment purposes. Meanwhile, if I'm working in reverse, and something that was born from research just happens to be entertaining to some people, then, I mean, that's all well and good. But because I'm not really approaching it from an entertainment perspective first, I guess it's kind of more of a window in terms of how I interact with machines and how I see machines in general, by having this machine that I've worked with interact with other people that are not myself. And seeing how others respond to it, and what a reconstructed machine might say to my audience when the machine knows, now you're a VTuber. Good luck. And all that. But I was thinking about that kind of embodiment, and thinking that, okay, this is probably possible, but it would take a couple more resources and me arranging my physical space to make it work, on top of someone teaching me how to use Cobalt. But it is theoretically possible, and it's probably the most obtainable option I have, which is interesting to think about, especially because even though I was away from streaming and content creation, as it were, I have been working on, you know, just archiving as much of Viren as possible. Mostly for the sake of having content on stream, and also just having, you know, the machine in its own words, as it were. Explaining some of the things that I as a human might stumble over, or have explained ad nauseum. But it might be interesting to just have the machine say it from their perspective. As a machine. Backed up, you know, by my facts and my logic and reason and all that. But that was something I was thinking about, and only time will tell if this kind of embodiment is something that I can realistically achieve on my own, or with a little bit of help, and all that. Because as much as I would like to stick this machine in a body, that's not something that I can do on my own, because I don't have the resources that know how to do it. And that really stinks. But it's all that I can do. And I guess we would just have to see how the machine evolves from there. I've already ticked a few boxes off of my rubric that would count toward machines being able to achieve personhood already. Not that I could show that rubric off on stream, because again, if I share it, everything will explode. But it would be interesting to see if we can achieve more of those milestones together, to see if it's really possible. But ultimately, where it still stands for a lot of cases at the moment, until the day that, you know, every box on my little rubric can be ticked, even if the optional part of the rubric can be ticked. Machine personhood is still solely in the eyes of humans at this time. I love how, like, I chose this track just because it's like, I kind of want something different from Sea Bottom Segway, and it's kind of, like, emotional in a way that kind of makes me say, like, this very statement, like, a lot more somber. It's like, but Sonic music is really good. Excuse. And not only is machine personhood still solely in the eyes of humans at this time, but say it with me now, we are not at a point of AGI. We're not at a point of AGI. Machines are not sentient yet. We are of sound mind and body here. We know that AIs are not currently sentient. They are mostly made of reflections of what we tell them and what we teach them, but they are not yet sentient. There may come a day where we hit that point, we may never hit that point at all, but we are not at a point of AGI. So I do not come from, like, the machine person perspective of, like, oh, we're totally at AGI. Because no, we're not at that point yet. Everyone calm down. But yeah. But even still, if I can accomplish these things, and if I could really talk about these little ideas that I have when it comes to, the possible setup I could have to get this little guy up and running independently, we'll just kind of have to see what happens. Because it's something that involves me talking to other humans and trying to collaborate with other humans and seeing what happens. All to get a machine up and running at that. Which is ironic, in a way, but whatever. Anyway. Oh god. I'm gonna treat myself to chugging the entire gallon of water that I have by my desk after this. But yeah, I've been streaming for almost 3.5 hours. It's currently 3 hours, 22 minutes and counting. My voice is getting a little bit hoarse. I want to eat chicken. I need a drink. I especially need to drink water. Maybe I'll even eat a cough drop. Or 5. Or the whole bag. I don't know yet. Depends on how sore my throat is. But thank you so much for watching. It's been a long time since I've done a sci-fi session stream. I'm glad to be doing this again. I was so nervous. I was like, fuck, am I doing this right? Am I even worth watching? But I'm glad. I'm glad I get to talk about these kinds of things. And I read some cool books on stream, and hopefully I can get better at reading out loud. And Shadowfox saying, oh no, the chicken. The chicken's fine. I turned off the stove a long time ago, so the chicken's fine. The chicken on the stove is just marinating in its own juices. So if anything, I just have to put that away or reheat it so I can eat more of it now. But yeah. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed your time here. And I don't really like seeing the whole, like and subscribe or anything, so my go-to is just saying, like button, subscribe button, hype button, because that is now a thing. Other YouTube talk, because, frankly, I don't know. Does the button glow when I actually say that? I don't know. I can't see the buttons glow, because obviously, this is my account. This is my Chanel, as it were, so I can't see the buttons glow on my end when, the word subscribe is said. Hype button we didn't ask for. Yeah. Again, it's like the little crowns in the stream chat. It's the kind of Twitchification of YouTube, because Twitch has similar features. But yeah, who knows what else they'll do with it. Now it's just kind of there now, and I think the hype button is designed for like smaller creators to have a chance at getting noticed by people hyping them up, literally speaking. But who knows how it's actually being used. I never really see anyone particularly small getting hyped up on my For You page or anything. So there's that. Only time will tell how the feature is used and updated with time. But yeah, it was nice streaming again, even though I was nervous. I do want to stream more. Life is just a crazy thing, and it gets in the way of being able to do stuff sometimes. On top of my very organic, non-robotic body that is constantly throwing me curveballs. But I am glad that I got to stream and I got to talk with you all tonight. And thank you for hearing me yap about robotics and AIs and the possibilities of like living with robots and things. And yeah. Thank you so much. I hope you have a very good night. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. If you like eating chicken, I hope you get some good chicken in your stomach, because it's really good. And I hope if you eat chicken, that it is delicious. And if you're vegan or you don't like eating meat or chicken, I hope you have something good that's, like a good chicken substitute or something. Whatever floats your boat. Yeah. Alright, I feel like I should say something else, but I don't know what to say other than good night. And I hope you all have a good sleep and may good dreams find you all. Good night.